The tale kicks off in a smithy. Vil grips his hammer and starts forging his destiny. He snaps his golden hand to life and summons a divine connection to Mjolnir. With magic crackling in his hands, he hoists an iron bar into the air and slots it into position, ready to forge it into a sacred relic. As Amina Hitatsu slams the iron down and chants, the bar erupts with blinding light, until it fully reshapes into the radiant sword, Holy Light Severance. Later, back in his brand-new home's living room, part workshop, part love nest for him and his newlywed fiancée, everything finally begins to unfold. Will gets hit with crushing news. His fiancée is gone. Surakul Hassan hits him with the bombshell. She's decided to break off their engagement. Stunned, Vil fires off questions the moment she doubts herself. Because their engagement wasn't some whim, it was sealed by both fathers. He'll inherit his father's smithy, while she's supposed to step in and run her family's trading company. Surakul blurts out that she's fallen for someone else. Then, mid-sentence, she flicks her eyes to the doorway, where another man is standing. The man bursts into the room and wraps Surakul in a tight embrace right in front of Vil. In his horror, he realizes the man is his own brother, Setchin, and Vil is left reeling as he snaps, demanding to know exactly when it all started. Setchin drops the bomb. Their whole relationship kicked off right after Surakul's father died. She was drowning in grief, and Vil chose to bury himself in work instead. Unlike Vil, Setchin showed up when she was breaking. He comforted her, stood by her, and helped her get through that brutal time. Vil fought back and said he had no choice, because all he'd been doing was burning himself out to keep the Hassan trading company from going down. Setchin just laughs off his hard work, saying the company's comeback was pure luck, because that biggest client showed up at exactly the right moment. Vil just stands there, stunned, and Surakul finally speaks up, no attempt to defend him. But if you ask me, it wasn't luck. It was her grit that kept the company standing. After her father died, she refused to bow out, dug in her heels, and fought tooth and nail to keep the business alive. Rage burns through Vil as he can't believe they'd betray him like this, right after they just finished building a home and opening a new store together. Setchin shoots back with a smug sorry, then orders Vil to move out. He claims the house as his and Surakul's, then makes it crystal clear that her ex has no business living under the same roof with them. Curious, Vil blurts out, "Why can't we just move into Surakul's family estate? After all, the Hassan Company building is hers." But Setchin snaps back, saying he's the head of this household now, and his pride won't let him settle for less. Vil's left completely baffled, and he demands, "What do you mean?" Setchin grabs Surakul's belly with his hand and declares, loud and certain, that she's carrying his child. Rage surging, Vil yanks Setchin by the collar and barks, "Tell me you're serious." Setchin snaps at him to calm down, saying he'll scare Surakul. So Vil finally looks over and freezes when he sees her cradling her belly. Once it clicks, he snaps off that lame excuse, whips around, and heads out, grimly telling them, "If it's like this, take the house and the store." Right as he hits the door, Surakul shouts, "Stop," and he snaps back, "What now? What do you want?" She begs him not to walk out, swearing her company still needs the weapons he forges. Setchin barges in and declares he'll handle the smithy from now on, but Surakul scrambles to protest. But Vil's done listening. He flings the door open, storms out, and flat out declares that from this moment on, none of it has anything to do with him. As Vil storms out, Setchin freezes at the doorway, staring blankly while his mind reels back to a conversation with his father. Back when he was still a kid, he demanded answers, why their father always favored Vil, and swore he could run the Smithy family too. Without a second's doubt, his father shot back that Vil was a once-in-a-millennium prodigy, an honest-to-the-bone godsend with a golden hand. Still, he's convinced he and Setchin are nothing special, just average, plain mediocre. Hearing that, Setchin crumpled into tears, screaming at his father not to belittle him, and snapping, "How dare you call your own son mediocre?" Setchin has always seethed at his brother, because somehow he got their father's trust, all the talent, and even a gorgeous fiancée. That resentment curdled into pure hatred, and that burning hatred drove him to plot relentlessly, then snatch everything from his brother. Right then, bam, someone knocks on the door. When it swings open, a girl strides into the shop with knights flanking her, clutching a beautiful bouquet, and she asks them straight up where she can find Master Hapusai. The moment they spot her, Setchin and Surakul freeze, then snap into quick bows because standing right in front of them is Princess Annerose of the kingdom. Annerose blurts out an apology, then quickly clears it up. She wasn't asking for Hapusai at all, she meant the owner of Hapusai's smithy. She explains she heard Will Craft finally opened his own smithy, and she even showed up with a bouquet to congratulate him. Setchin's left standing there, utterly baffled. Why would a princess waltz into some random blacksmith shop, And how in the world does she even know Will? Annerose strides right up to Sirikal and locks eyes with her, because she's Hassan Trading's president's daughter, the very woman once engaged to Vil. She throws out congratulations to Sirikal, praising her luck for snagging a man as extraordinary as him, and Sirikal just stands there, utterly stunned and lost for words. Setchin snaps that Vil and Sirikal's engagement is officially off, then storms out, leaving him as the new owner of the Hapusai smithy. Annerose is stunned at first, but she snaps back into control fast. As the puzzle finally clicks, a sly smile lights up her face. Then she leans in and asks straight up if Setchin is the one running the smithy now. Setchin smirks and answers without hesitation, then taps his chest like a promise, telling her he's got this fully, and that he'll shoulder every bit of the smithy and whatever chaos follows. Annerose instantly spots it. His hand has no marking at all, and that's the whole point of Hapusai's mastery. She erupts into laughter, utterly stunned that someone like him would dare throw out claims that loud with arms like that. And still giggling, she turns to go, declaring her job is finished, leaving Setchin and Sirikal sitting there completely baffled. As soon as she steps outside, she snaps her orders into the night. Cancel every deal with the Hassan Trading Company, right now, and the knight obeys instantly, no questions asked. She fires off another emergency order. She demands they track Vil down with every resource they've got, because there's no way he's gone far. One of the knights nervously blurts out, "Why does it even matter? Vil's brother is running the smithy now." And when Annerose hears that, she whips around to him and snaps, "So you honestly know nothing about Hapusai?" Meanwhile, Vil stands at a calm lake and flicks stone after stone across the water, trying to make sense of everything that just happened. He's already decided. No matter what they do, even if they crawl back begging for forgiveness, he's never stepping foot in the capital again, not for a second. He slams his golden hand into place and shouts for the divine hammer, Mjolnir, to connect. When that glowing circle on his hand kicks in and the hammer rings, he suddenly remembers being young. Then he leans over his bedridden grandfather and demands, "What's a Hapusai?" His grandfather leans in and tells him a Hapusai is a blacksmith blessed with the golden hand, an insanely rare power that gets handed down, generation after generation. When Vil pushes for more answers, the old man leans in and drops the truth. The golden hand gives a one-of-a-kind crafting power, and every single Hapusai that ever lived has had one. As Vil relives it, he flicks a gold coin into the sky, triggers his skill, Ultra Alchemy, and slams the coin midair, turning it into a tiny bar of pure gold. He could cash out and coast for years, but he won't flood the market, because one reckless move could spark an economic crisis. Then he remembers his grandpa saying that nearly every golden hand user only gets one single skill. Vil isn't like the others. He's got 5 different crafting abilities, the only Hapusai in recorded history to wield power like that. Then his grandfather shoves the hammer into his hands and tells him the Hapusai have perfected their craft for generations to forge divine artifacts. So he hands Vil the sacred relic he made. And when he names it Mjolnir, the divine hammer, Vil's world flips. From this moment on, he's the new Hapusai. That's how Vil snags both the workshop name and the divine artifact his grandfather, Gankoji Craft, left behind. Then he keeps the city's barrier standing, guards the hero's sword, and tends countless sacred relics, all because the king demands it. Back in the kingdom, Princess Annerose leans in and tells the knight the truth. This realm stays peaceful because Hapusai is still alive, and he's right here. The knight panics when Vil's absence hits him, warning that the barrier could be in trouble. Then the princess calmly says Vil just reinforced it, so it should stay strong for at least a year. That's when the knight turns to them and demands, "Should we go tell heroine Caroline what's going on?" Annerose flings her bouquet aside and snaps that it's not time yet. And yeah, Vil has kept the holy sword sharp lately too. So unless a whole horde of ancient dragons suddenly crashes in, things should stay steady. Then she barks a no-miss order to hunt down Vil at once, if they want the barrier guarded and the capital safe. And the knights snap to attention and agree without a second thought. Annerose knows Caroline trusts Vil, not just because he's a master craftsman, but because he's a solid man through and through. And now that Vil is finally single, Annerose is dead set on snatching his heart before anyone else dares. While Vil works his magic to pop open the storage box, a pitch-black container suddenly materializes. He flicks the gold bar inside and hides it away as his travel money. Then he drops the truth. That maintenance gig was something his father picked up right after his grandfather died, just to keep food coming. But a Hapusai isn't meant to do chores all day, so he's convinced Setchin can run the shop. His grandfather finally let the secret slip. Being a Hapusai isn't about that at all. Its real purpose lies somewhere else. He hands Vil Mjolnir, the divine hammer, then leans in and tells him it's more than a weapon. It's a model and an artifact meant to light a fire under Vil for everything he'll build next. With that, he spills his last wish and commands Vil to finally carry out the real mission of the Hapusai. As Vil starts to cry, his grandfather softly pats his head and with a trembling voice tells him to forge brand new sacred relics and raise them up to the heavens. As soon as he finishes those final words, he drops dead, while Vil screams in pure heartbreak. With that memory crashing back, Vil finally gets it. His grandfather has been steering him the whole time. Then he whips a rock up into the air, and the divine hammer slams it out of mid-flight, turning it into an SS-ranked drifting teleportation crystal. He clutched the artifact, shattered its crystal, and screamed for it to launch him into a brand new world he'd never seen before. With the magic finally kicking in, he can't stop thinking about it. People now see him as a legendary craftsman, just like his grandfather, and that pushes him to pack up and chase the world, sharpen his skills, soak up fresh inspiration, and build a sacred relic that could dwarf even Mjolnir itself. As soon as the teleportation finishes, Will drops into a totally unfamiliar place, of course, but then he jolts when he hears a girl screaming for help. As he whips around, he spots a girl getting hunted by a bear, and his stomach drops because they're charging right toward him. The sight slams into him out of nowhere, and as he stares, the terrified girl lets out a desperate scream for help. No hesitation, Phil swings Mjolnir and smashes the bear's head clean in, obliterating it on the spot. With the danger finally gone, he bolts his eyes around, asking himself where he landed this time. Maybe some forest right by the kingdom. But for now, he drops that thought and locks onto the girl, rushing closer to see if she's really okay. He's completely stunned. There she is, a beast folk girl missing a leg standing right in front of him. When he asks again if she's okay, his eyes snap to the collar sitting around her neck. The girl whips around to hide it, but Vil catches on. She's or at least was a slave, most likely a merchant's property, and that merchant is gone, crushed by the bear. She swallows hard and whispers, "It hurts." As Will closes in to check her injury, she erupts in screams, terrified out of her mind. Seeing her panic, he slams on the brakes, tells her to stay put, and moves in fast. First, he steadies her shaking nerves. Then he ignites his golden hand and draws the divine hammer in close to her. At first, she hesitates, but when the hammer hums out that soothing aura, her nerves finally start to settle. So once she's calm, Villa tells her straight up he's got no intention of hurting her. He says it, then lifts the hammer high and slams the skillful restoration into action. She slams it gently onto her thigh, right where her leg is gone, and the second it touches, she erupts in a scream as her leg starts to regrow and her wounds knit back together at lightning speed. In just seconds, her whole leg snaps back like it never got hurt at all. Leaving her completely stunned, she blurts, "What did you just do?" Will grins and says he just slammed his hammer to trigger a skill called *** full restoration ***. It instantly mends the damage to her leg. Then he orders her to stay put, says he's about to unleash another skill, and before she can even process it, he slams his hammer into her collar. He used his disassemble skill. Everything flared with a blazing glow, then vanished without a trace. Vil then tells her she's finally free. Like if she dared rip that collar off herself, her head would have blown apart on the spot. A cold shiver crawls down her spine as she hears it, and when she opens her mouth to respond, Vil just stares at her, totally confused. Then out of nowhere, she barrels into a tight hug, introduces herself as Porro, and blurts out, "Thank you for saving my life, big brother." Vil grins and shoots back, no problem. He steps in and introduces himself. Then, since the sky's already turning dark, he decides to pitch camp and orders her to wait. Then he strides toward a tree, and Porro's little head tilts with pure confusion as he studies the bark closely. Then decides this is the one he'll use. He slams his hammer into the tree and snaps it into place with skill transmute, turning wood straight into a log cabin. And the moment Vil sees the whole thing reshape and lock in, his smile widens as the transformation finishes. Porro freezes in shock, blurting what the heck just happened, because that tree has straight up turned into a house, while Vil shrugs like it's no big deal and says, "Don't worry, this is where we're crashing for the night." At the Getnerga Kingdom's frontier, a squad of knights storms in and stumbles on the horrifying remains of countless ancient dragons, dead in a brutal display that leaves everyone staring, utterly baffled. Who in the world could have done this? Right then, one of the knights spots a shadow springing onto the mountain of dragon corpses, and he squints, trying to make out what it is. His eyes flare wide, and he yells that the Holy Ice Sword's heroine is Lady Caroline Iceberg. Right as the knights bow in a rush, one of them blurts out, "Wait, did she really wipe out every dragon by herself?" Another knight chimes in, saying Lady Caroline can handle anything like that. No problem at all. He insists the town's protective barrier wouldn't have saved them by itself, and for the kingdom's peace, her power is non-negotiable. Then, with full respect, he asks her to come with them to the royal palace. She ignores him completely, just stares at her sword in silence, leaving the knights totally baffled, then casually says her blade looks like it has a chip. As the knight starts to ramble that even a holy sword can decay, he cuts himself off mid-sentence, then freezes, totally flustered, when Caroline, always cold and composed, smiles at him. She yanks her hood up, mutters something like, "That's just how it is," and then vanishes in a blink, leaving the knights staring in shock. She suddenly drops into the Geitnerga kingdom's royal capital like a teleport, humming softly as she strolls through the streets. Her sword ignites into a dazzling glow. Then it morphs into a spiritual cat, and the cat just smirks that she's in a surprisingly good mood today. Her brush of a tail against her cheek makes her gasp. Is she this wild because she's moments away from meeting her beloved smithing prince? She nods, practically buzzing. Today's the day she finally gets to see Will again. Even the cat chimes in, saying it loves Will too because nobody else cleans it, cares for it, or looks after it the way he does. Vils might have said the blade won't chip unless she battles 100 ancient dragons. So the moment the cat starts grumbling, she stomps out an entire horde, grinds the sword to its absolute limit, and basically hunts for an excuse to run back and see Vils again. The cat calls Caroline hopeless to the bone, and she just nods like, "Yeah, that's true, I'm only here because of you." Right when they finally step in front of the shop, she snaps her magic into a mirror to check her face, and the cat goes ahead and pounds the doorbell. Setchin cracks the door open, eyes locked on her, and with a smooth, "Gorgeous," he pulls her inside. Caroline was buzzing with excitement to finally meet Will, until she spots Setchin, and all the joy drains out of her face. Setchin clocks her right away, flashes a proper greeting, and that chill hits immediately. She demands to know where Will is, and Setchin snaps back that he's not around. Then she assumes Will just stepped out and says she'll wait. But Setchin drops the bomb. Will has been fired, and starting today, Setchin is the new owner of the shop. The moment she hears it, she locks eyes with him and glares. Then a chilling, menacing aura pours out. As Setchin trembles, wondering if Vil caused all this, Caroline fumed, because this creep kicked Vil out. Then she snaps her sword up at him and demands, "Where's Vil?" Because she needs him to repair her holy blade, Setchin just assumes she's freaking out since Vil isn't there to fix it. Carving out the opening, he steps in and offers to sharpen the sword for his brother instead, while Caroline gapes at him like, "Wait, are you seriously saying that?" Turns out only Caroline and Vil can spot the holy sword's spirit, the cat, but the little thing still tilts its head and wonders. Maybe Setchin could be special too, since he's Vil's brother. Setchin then throws out a confident grin, saying he's got this, and swears he's way better than his brother. Caroline didn't buy a single word. She thrusts the sword into his hands and challenges him, asking if he truly thinks he can take over for her brother. Without hesitation, he grins and tells her to trust him. Sure, as soon as she lays eyes on his skills, she'll drop every other choice and pick him. He's convinced Will only looked special because he arrived first, nothing more. And the moment he starts forging that sword, he locks in, thinking this is his perfect opening to rip away everything Will cares about. He won't accept that he can't do what his brother does, so with that stubborn thought burning in his head, he starts carelessly sharpening the sword, and the spirit cat suddenly screams in unbearable pain. Since Setchin can't see a thing, he keeps sawing at the blade with rough, relentless grinding, while the cat's fury keeps skyrocketing, clawing, and begging him to stop. Unable to take it anymore, the sword spirit erupts with a murderous aura, and its face warps into a monstrous, nightmarish thing. Terrified, Setchin grips his arm as if it might snap any second from the insane pressure. Then, just like that, Caroline thrusts her hand out, and the sword snaps right into her grip, shocking her with how easily he managed to rile it into action. The spirit cat tells her Setchin wasn't even paying attention to a word it said. He was just goofing around, doing whatever he wanted. He's nothing like his brother, who understands that even tools have feelings and has always treated them like they matter. When Caroline spoke up, Setchin froze in confusion and snapped, "What nonsense are you talking about? Swords can't get angry." Right then, the spirit cat decided he was nothing but hopeless trash. Caroline then reveals that the holy sword has a mind of its own, and that Will kept it honed and perfect all along. But now that he's gone, she slams the door on the shop forever and vows she'll never come back. Right before Caroline walks away, she tells Setchin that today both she and the sword have seen through his real abilities, then stares him down and says he's nothing like his brother. As she turns to leave, Setchin begs her to stop, but she keeps walking anyway. Right then, Sirikol bursts back into the shop and spots Caroline heading out. Stunned by her sudden appearance, Sirikol is left reeling when Setchin bursts in from behind, yelling that she needs one more chance. He drops hard to the ground, swearing he's better than his brother, and Sirikol is left utterly stunned. Her confusion sparks into pure shock the second she spots the shop in total chaos. Then she whips around and snaps at Setchin. What the hell happened here? With a voice trembling, Setchin blurts out that he somehow pissed off Lady Caroline. She swore she'd never set foot in this shop again. He tries to calm her down, telling her that even if the heroine never returns, customers will always show up. Yet that just makes Sirikol's frustration explode. With one sharp snap, she tears into him, calling him an idiot, and warns him that if Lady Caroline turns on them, they might as well be hated by the whole kingdom, because that means they're done. Setchin's overwhelmed. She blurts out, demanding Setchin shut up, and then she fires back at him to stop shouting and get the mess fixed fast. Right then, a man bursts in at the shop entrance and calls Sir Cal president, announcing that the royal family has just canceled their order. Still stuck in the heat of the fight, she blurts out that she already knows, then tells him to get out. And then boom, the moment hangs there as she and Setchin stop dead, slowly spinning toward each other, totally thrown off and confused. And then both of them snap, who canceled our orders? Meanwhile, deep in the jungle, right in the treehouse Vil built, Porro can't believe his eyes. He's staring at a hot bath, devouring delicious food, slipping into comfy clothes, and finally sinking into a soft mattress. Blown away, she blurts out if Will is some kind of magician, and Will just laughs, shaking his head. No, he's not, instead. He fired off one of his abilities to lock the house in a protective shield. Then, using supreme alchemy, he turned raw ingredients into food right on the spot. Porro's jaw drops at his own power and he tells Vil he's incredible, and Vil's heart gets genuinely moved. He's been grinding himself into the ground lately, and man, finally someone sees what he's done and that feels incredible. He even remembers how Sirikol twisted his mind, until it felt normal for a blacksmith to churn out 99.99 grade A swords every single day. As he tries to move past it, Porro blurts out that she thinks he's an amazing person, and it absolutely blindsides him. Looking back, he can't stop marveling at it. His grandfather was a total genius, churning out one miraculous masterpiece after another. His father wasn't as gifted, but he kept grinding, staying careful, working diligently, and jumping at every chance to help people. Will swore they were the real geniuses. While the other person didn't just disagree, they hit back hard. He humbly calls himself just an ordinary blacksmith, picked up a few tricks along the way, and now he's chasing one goal: make everyone smile. He lifts his eyes as he says it. Then he catches Porro already dead asleep on him, and a wave of embarrassment hits as he mutters like, "How do you just fall asleep on me like that?" Still, he's relieved she feels safe enough to crash and rest, because the way she fell asleep so fast, she had to be completely wiped out. With a gentle smile, he finally lets himself drift off too. And just like that, the two of them spend the night trapped in this deadly jungle. Then Vil wakes up. He yawns, tosses out a casual good morning to Porro, and when she doesn't answer, he shrugs like she's still out cold, then strides over to her bed to shake her awake. But he freezes, because the moment he looks closer, it's not the same person at all. An older girl, unfamiliar but breathtaking, lies there instead. Stunned, he can't stop asking who she is, until the ears and tail snap into focus, and a wild, impossible idea suddenly crashes into his head. Right as he's still trying to process what's happening, the girl springs her eyes open, smiles bright, and blurts, "Good morning." Then she beams and calls him Big Brother, just like Porro does. With her whole world spinning, Vil finally snaps to the truth. She's really Porro. Then she blurts out the only question that matters: how did she change that much that fast? Staring at herself, Porro blurts out that it looks like she's gone through an evolution. Moments later, as they step out of the treehouse, Will grabs her attention and tells her to slow down. She's moving way too fast. She stops right there and thanks him for the clothes he made, telling him they feel amazing and let her move around with total ease. Curious, Will blurts out what evolution even means, and Porro drops the truth. When a monster gulps enough mana, it levels up into a higher-tier species. And because she's got monster blood running through her as a beast folk, she can evolve too. Turns out, the meal she cooked last night was packed with mana, and that spark lit her transformation off like a wildfire. Vil cuts through the moment and asks if she's going to keep chasing after him, and she fires back, asking whether he even minds her being around. Then he snaps, right away, that it doesn't bother him at all, and her face lights up as she blurts out that she has nowhere else to go. A little blush creeps in as she admits she wants to stay right by his side. Then Vil finally realizes this isn't just her look that changed. Then, out of nowhere, she leans in and whispers that they could have a few kittens together, snatching the words right out of his mouth. Flustered out of his mind, he bolts down the street, yelling that he's not ready to be a dad, and Porro tears after him, begging him to slow down. Then thud, he slams to a sudden stop the moment his feet hit the water, and both he and Porro go wide-eyed, because a village should be right here. Yet all they get is swampy water. As Vil scans the area, his eyes lock on a sign ahead that screams, "Dead End," and the words feel like a curse hanging over the village. They follow the sign's pull, wade deeper into the swamp, and finally stumble upon a lake. Then Vil's mind snaps to one question: what happened to the village? Right then, Porro spots movement nearby and tells them to go ask those people. They move in, and a man who calls himself the village chief, Arthur, steps forward, saying that their dead-end village is now underwater because the rains the other day just wouldn't stop. With nowhere else to go, the villagers can only huddle and wait for the floodwaters to finally drop. Because the village has no young people left to lift a finger, and even if they were here, that water level is just too crushing to fight. After hearing their trouble, Vil steps in to help, says almost nothing, and strides into the forest, while Porro blurts after him, yelling, "Where are you going?" Vil then scales up to a higher spot, eyes scanning the whole area while Porro blurts out, "What's wrong?" He answers that it's exactly what he feared. The mountains ring the village like a natural bowl, which is why it floods so easily. But he's still convinced he can fix it, because he already knows exactly what needs to be done. He snatches his hammer, slams the golden arm ability on, and barks an order, Mjolnir, grow. With a thunderous command, the hammer erupts into a massive monstrosity, and everyone nearby goes wide-eyed in shock. With every ounce of strength, Vil drives it straight into the ground. With a deafening crack, a brutal shockwave blasts outward, and a choking cloud of dust erupts as a massive crater tears open beneath the impact. Then he shrugs the hammer smaller and smashes it against the crater's side. The impact shatters the barrier, and before anyone can react, the village waterway floods in like a tidal wave. Porro's villagers stare in stunned silence as the crater fills up and a massive reservoir forms. Then the water from their town drains out in a blink. In the blink of an eye, the whole village turns bone dry, every person left staring at nothing but dust. Devastation hit Vil hard the moment he saw what the flood had smashed, and then, like a calm breath in chaos, he explained that wooden houses, especially the old ones, fall apart fast when water stays on them too long. Then he yanks open a storage box. Suddenly dozens of stones burst into the air, floating like they've gone alive. The village chief stares in disbelief and demands what he's planning to do with them, but Vil just goes silent. Instead, he fires up his golden hand power, then crashes into the ground and unleashes his full restoration and creation skill. Right away, the shattered wooden structures snap back to life, and the floating stones twist into bricks that click together on their own, locking into stronger, solid walls. Just like that, the whole village springs back to life, rebuilt bigger, stronger, and upgraded to the max. The villagers roar with cheers and stampede inside to gawk at the upgrades, and the moment the village chief lays eyes on the work, he turns to Vil and demands, straight out, if he's some kind of legendary mage. Minutes later, Vil and Porro step into the chief's home, and every villager drops to their knees, bowing hard to thank them. Vil drops his pride and says there's no need, then admits the golden hand ability made everything a breeze. The chief won't let it go. He demands to repay him, saying they can't rest easy unless they do, and Vil can't help but freeze, clueless what he should even ask for. He finally asks if the village has any weird weapons or tools, and the villagers are totally baffled, so they lead him straight to a shrine. Where a sealed sword lies in silence, Vil instantly feels its sinister aura and knows it's a demonic blade. The village chief leans in and tells you this sword once helped a hero butcher an evil god and save everyone. Then that same hero snapped and went mad, so the elders panicked, feared the blade's curse, and sealed it inside the shrine. Sword in hand, Vil blurts that he never thought a weapon this deadly would be tucked away here, and the chief panics, asking if he's truly okay, because for them, even laying a finger on it feels unbearable. Vil reassures him it'll be fine, then orders Porro to wait outside with the chief, but Porro snaps back that she can't protect him from the outside. After that, Vil decides to end it fast and swings his hammer right into the moment, only for the chief to snap back and warn him that the sword once belonged to a terrifying witch. Then Will stays cool, activates his decomposition skill and slams the sword with his hammer. The bead-like restraints that form the seal instantly explode and shatter. As the village chief freezes in pure shock, Vil quickly draws his rusty, blood-stained sword and grips it with steady, careful hands. He speaks to it in a soft voice, telling it that being left behind, locked away, and left to rot under rust and old blood for so long must have been torture. The village chief shoots him a confused look and asks who he's talking to, and Bill just stays cool, saying that if you think like the sword, you'll hear its voice too. Then right out of the blade, shadowy aura starts seeping and Porro panics, lunging for Vil, but the village chief slams his hand out and yanks her back, warning her to stay far away. Vil feels it instantly, the hairs on his skin rising as he realizes the sword's curse doesn't just harm him, it drives the wielder straight into insanity. Then his aura twists into a spirit and blasts out a terrifying presence, slamming into him so hard he blurts, "What the hell is this?" But it turns out only he can see the spirit. Porro's baffled, blurting out what's going on, while the village chief stays cool and calmly asks if Vil is seeing the sword's spirit too. The chief leans in and tells Porro that some folks can actually spot the spirit trapped inside swords, and this blade is holding a demonic one. Vil's convinced the curse running through it is pure evil, because weapons are supposed to answer the hand that grabs them. But this sword spits in the face of every would-be wielder, refusing them all. Then the village chief steps in and tells him to drop it, because this is getting way too dangerous to keep going. But Vil won't let it go. He can't stop himself from feeling for that weapon, shunned and locked away, hated as a curse that brings madness, even. And now he can hear it, begging for salvation with a pain-soaked voice, like it's fighting for its last breath. Then he flips the switch on his golden hand power and blasts, "I'm a blacksmith," saying his job is to forge and repair every tool in need. He swears he'll restore the sword, then names it Yazora. Once his divine refinement locks in, he slams the blade again and again. Then a blazing aura beam rockets straight up into the sky. Meanwhile, in the Gate Negra Kingdom's capital, Caroline keeps hunting for Vil, yet he's nowhere to be found. Suddenly, the sword spirit beside her snaps into motion, sensing something and whipping around fast, so Caroline notices and blurts out, "What's wrong?" and even calls it Corey. Corey, locked onto that blazing pillar in the distance, declares that a brand new holy sword has just been born. Back in the village, just as Vil finishes hammering, the cursed sword suddenly starts to glow as it reshapes into a razor-sharp katana, its spirit surges, now known as Yazora. Also shifts into a woman's form in a shrine maiden outfit, and when Will lunges for the katana, Yazora steps in, calling him Master Blacksmith, before catching herself and naming him her creator. Will kneels in and asks if it still hurts, and Yazora beams back, telling him it doesn't. Then she reveals her name, the spirit of the Holy Sword of Darkness, Yazora. She thanks him for giving her a name, and Will freezes, stunned, because he had no clue she was a holy sword. Yazora tells the chief, "Because of me, she got reborn as a holy sword, born from a demonic blade." But the village chief just can't figure it out because he can't see Yazora at all. Porro somehow can see her clearly now, and she breathes out a whisper calling her beautiful. So Yazora freezes, spins toward Porro, and blurts out, "Wait, you can really see me." Vil suddenly slings the katana straight at Porro, and Porro jolts, barely snagging it in time, eyes wide as she blurts, "Wait, aren't only the heroes supposed to carry holy swords?" Before she can get a single word out, her eyes flare wide as something inside her suddenly starts to move. Without even realizing it, she slips the katana free and starts tearing through a whole storm of sword techniques, moving with crazy grace and pinpoint precision. As soon as she sheds the blade, she snaps out of her trance. She was convinced the katana steered her every move like it knew her better than she did, and Will leaned in and told her she should have taken the sword from the start, because all of this happened exactly the way it did, thanks to the inspiration she'd planted in him that morning. Porro froze, staring at Vil like, "Wait, I really did." Vil nodded and said, "I fed mana into the holy sword and it evolved just like yours." Yazora, fully awake as a sword spirit, can't believe her eyes. Turns out even weapons can evolve, and she's blown away by how Vil pulls it off. Then Will explains how his grandfather once told him that blacksmiths across the Far East stamped their names into every blade they forged. And when Will gives the katana its name, he pours in the golden hand's power, and it transforms into a holy sword. The village chief's jaw drops at this bombshell, because those holy swords are only ever handed to the world when God sends an apostle. So seeing a human forge one has never, ever happened. Hearing that, Vil's mind flashes back. His grandpa always mourned the one thing he never managed, forging a holy sword, And now Vil's heart twists in two, proud as can be, yet crushed by the weight of it. Because he didn't forge this sword from the ground up, he just finished the job someone else started. But watching Yasura beam with happiness makes every step feel worth it. Right now, he just hopes that one day he'll forge a divine relic all by himself. Far away from all this noise, Caroline's sword spirit, Cory, spots the mana beam rising from the brand new holy sword and freezes in shock. This blade didn't fall from the heavens, it was born right here in their world. That can only mean one thing: someone out there forged a holy sword. Caroline is just as stunned, but she snaps into clarity fast and puts it all together. She bursts into giggles, and it totally throws Cory off. When he asks what's so funny, Caroline just smirks and asks if the spirit still hasn't figured it out. Cory's eyes widen in shock as he blurts, "Was that Will?" Caroline nods and says, "Yep, and now the whole world is finally going to recognize his talent." But the moment she spots what's going on, her smile vanishes and seriousness hits hard. She sprints off that high ledge, then barks at Cory to find the new holy sword right now. A few heartbeats later, Vil and Porro roll out of the village in a carriage. And as Porro grips the reins and drives, Vil studies the map and realizes that dead-end place sits right on the kingdom's edge. So he snaps a decision in place. They're heading for the Empire of Magica. As long as it's a spot where nobody knows him too well, Porro beams and says she's crazy happy they pulled off getting the carriage. Vil says the villagers handed it to him out of gratitude, and he just couldn't bring himself to refuse. Then he drops the bombshell. He's handing her the holy sword of darkness, and she's so stunned she can barely breathe, asking if he really wants her to wield it. So he nods and agrees, it's perfect for her. Then he turns to her and begs her to watch over Yasura, using her power to shield everyone else. Yasura perched on the carriage roof and grinned as the wind slammed into her face. Like being alive out here is the best feeling in the world. To show her gratitude, she decides to teach Porro swordsmanship, and Porro can't believe his ears when he hears he's about to learn how to fight with a blade. Then out of nowhere, the wind howls harder, and they suddenly see something ripping through the sky straight at them. Then bam, a dragon drops out of nowhere and lands right in front of them. Vil's eyes widen the second he spots it. Yep, a green dragon. It snaps back into the air in an instant, and Vil knows exactly what's coming. It's lining up an attack from above. But instead of panicking, he's drawn in like it's the coolest thing ever. Its scales are perfect armor. And when Yasura hears that, she snaps that her creator only treats the monster as living material. Then she tells Yasura to take the dragon himself, claiming it'll be perfect training for Porro too. So Porro freezes, staring, and asks if Yasura means real combat. Vil nods and says it's a great plan. He wants to see Yasura's skills too. Then the dragon flips through the air and rockets down to strike, and Yasura snaps, "Porro, get ready." They both lunge straight at the dragon, and right as it starts gathering fire in its mouth, it's gearing up to blast them with a breath of flames. From the ground, Vil watches in silence as Porro's hands shake. Then she nervously draws her sword. Eyes shut tight, she swings for the dragon's neck, and wham, she's sure she just landed a game-changing strike, so she blurts, "Vil, look." But the moment she sees it, her stomach drops. The cut isn't deep enough. Worse, this dragon whips around and charges back, and its mouth spits pure flame. As she drifts through the air on Yasura's power, panic rips through her. She has no clue what to do next, so Yasura softly tells her to breathe and calm down. She steadies her grip, guides her hands over the sword, and tells her to trust the blade, because it'll click into her heart and become part of her. Yasura grabs her attention and shouts at her to open her eyes and listen hard, because even when darkness and despair slam shut, she has to snatch that tiny spark of hope. With Yasura's words finally snapping her thoughts into place, Porro opens her eyes, locks onto the perfect spot to strike, and hears Yasura whisper, "I've got you, I'll be right beside you." The dragon blasts them with scorching fire. Then Porro barrels straight through the flames like they're nothing. With one clean, decisive slash, he chops clean through, severing the dragon's head. She and the dragon slam into the ground together, but she drops safely to her feet. Porro bursts with joy and sprints up to Vil, yelling that she finally pulled it off. Vil beams back and tells her she absolutely nailed it. Yasura snaps that Porro didn't even tap 1% of her real power, and still couldn't end the dragon with one strike. Porro's smile slips when she realizes that even with Yasura guiding her, she's still a total beginner with the sword. And the Vilpats crow on her head, bragging that it wasn't half bad for her very first fight. Then he whips around to Yasura and asks what she thinks. She just nods, and Porro lights up all over again with that grin. Meanwhile, deep in the jungle, Cory grabs Caroline's attention and tells her to slow down. There's absolutely no need to rush. Caroline fires back, saying one holy sword is so terrifying it can drop an entire nation in one blow. So if the other countries get wind of Vil, she asks, what do you think will happen to them? Corey freezes in shock, realizing their greedy choices could light up a war over Vil in an instant. So before the world even finds out what Vil can do, Caroline decides to beat everyone to it. She's gearing up to propose to him herself, and his world instantly gets rocked by the shock of it. Corey blurts out, "Wait, are you serious? Why now?" And Caroline, all flustered, finally spills it. Once word gets out that Vil is a godly blacksmith who can forge a holy sword, women everywhere will start throwing themselves at him in massive waves. She refuses to let that happen and snaps at Corey, "How far is the holy sword?" Corey shoots back, "It's near the dead-end village on the kingdom's edge, but it's dangerously close to the Madoka Empire's border." The moment she hears it, Carolina snaps to a halt mid-step, eyes wide in shock, because in the Madoka Empire, that person is the hero. Meanwhile, Vil and the others freeze when thunder slams down out of nowhere. Then they look up and watch dark clouds churn in, lightning sparking across the sky, and right as Porro blurts out what's going on, a savage lightning bolt tears into the ground right before them, exploding into a blinding flash. Then Will's mind instantly goes to one suspect, and he can't stop wondering, is it really her? As the dust starts to fade, a dark-skinned girl steps out, eye patch on, whip in hand, while lightning crawls all over her body and she shouts to Vil, "Master," like she's finally found him. She shoots back that it's been ages, then once again calls him Master Vil. Porro snaps, totally rattled. Who the hell is this girl, and why is she treating Vil like her master? Right then, the eye patch girl snaps into view behind Porro, snickering that a mere beast girl can't possibly shield her precious master. As she charges in and mocks Porro, asking if he can even keep up, Porro snaps around to land a strike, and Vil yells for them to stop. But before the eye patch girl can strike, Porro lunges first, only to get stopped cold as she snaps her whip up and blocks it with ease. Porro's shocked because the whip's so rock-solid that her sword actually trembles on impact. She fires off a question about what kind of weapon this even is, while the eye patch girl smirks and taunts. "So you really think this is just a whip, Porro?" The moment she starts snapping the whip, it crackles with lightning, and she swings it up like a reveal, showing her partner, the holy sword of lightning, Thunderthorn. Porro's stunned, speechless, because it turns out the whip is also a holy sword. While Caroline is still frozen in place, Corey blurts that the holy sword of lightning has finally made contact with Vil. Corey tells him the truth. Only 6 holy swords exist in the whole world, and every single one is wielded by a battle maiden. Caroline adds that the girl in the eye patch is one of them too, Laquia, the Lightning Heroine, who steps up and brandishes the mighty Thunderthorn. The second Caroline makes contact with Will, she explodes into a full sprint, screaming that if that filthy tramp tries to seduce him, she'll kill her on the spot, while Corey panics and keeps yelling at her to hurry. While Laquia battles Porro, she snaps her whip around Porro's leg and clamps down with a brutal, no-turning-back grip. Laughing, Laquia grins and boasts that she reeled her in like a fish on a hook. Porro thrashes, fights to yank her leg loose and swings the whip, only for it to snap back like a brick wall, leaving her strike with 0 effect. Laquia bursts into mocking laughter, sneering that with a holy sword in her hands, she still can't even slice through a whip. Laquia yanks the whip free from Porro's leg and snaps that she doesn't go around picking on kids. Then she whips it again and unleashes crackling lightning, and hurls it at Porro, barking that she should leave it to the adults, right as lightning is about to slam down on her. She's utterly defenseless in midair, until Vil's skill, almighty refinement, snaps into place and throws up an air shield that saves her. The lightning slammed into the shield, then blasted the nearby mountain to dust, leaving Yazora reeling in pure shock. With everything finally settled, Vil darts in and cradles Porro as she drops, He apologizes and admits he never should have left her to face this alone, because her opponent is freakishly strong. Laquia snaps her whip into the dirt and spits that Porro is nowhere near strong enough, so she refuses to let her become Vil's wife, while Vil scrambles to explain that Porro isn't that kind of person. Laquia leans in and asks, "Do you still remember our deal?" Then she declares, "If I win, you'll claim me as your bride." This totally floors Porro, while Will blurts out, asking if she always has to mess around. Laquia goes dead serious and fires back, "Does it look like I'm joking?" Then she whips her weapon around above her head and swears today she'll beat him. And as she swings, the dark clouds crowd in while the lightning rips even brighter. Yazora snaps to the truth. This isn't a joke, and Laquia isn't messing around. Laquia snaps at Will to brace himself, because the moment he's about to witness her ultimate technique, Draconic thunderstorm asterisk is right here. With that, the thunder transforms into a legendary dragon and charges straight at them when they finally see it. Yazura is terrified that if it hits the ground, everything will burn to ash. But Vil stays ice calm and snaps that since he has no choice, he's not going to pull his punches either. Then he hurls his divine hammer straight at the thunder dragon, unleashing almighty destruction at full blast, smashing straight through it with zero resistance, obliterating the beast and snapping into a new trajectory. He reaches for Vil's hand, and it completely floors Lakia. She never thought he'd swat away a hero's attack like it was nothing, and once again she can't help but be blown away by just how incredible he is. With everything finally cooling down, Porro turns to Vil and blurts out, "So who's Lakia?" before she even gets the chance to finish her sentence. Vil leans in and tells them Lakia hails from the Empire, the heroine of lightning and the one who holds its power. Evil Eye, when Porro blurts out a question about it, Will fires back and explains what it's like, straight from how it started when he was a kid. Lakia got trapped in a nightmare, because the god of death branded her with an eye that dooms anything she sees through her right gaze to drop dead. The eye became the Empire's worst nightmare. No matter how hard they tried, nothing could save her, so with every option gone, they condemned her to die. And then, they finally realized she wasn't just a prisoner. She carried a holy sword in her soul, and the Empire couldn't risk losing that power, so they postponed her execution. Then, while hunting for anyone who could break the curse, they tracked down the one guy who could lift it. Back then, he couldn't shake off the evil eye. It was way beyond anything he could handle. All he could do was lock it down by sliding it under a magical sealing device, because she had a reason for coming here at all. She couldn't keep living like this anymore, trapped in a dungeon for far too long. So she finally runs to the man who saved her, because he's her last lifeline, the only hope she trusts, and the one she truly loves. But she refuses to stay hidden. She wants to grow strong enough to beat him. That's why the second the holy sword was forged, she instantly knew it was his doing, so she tore here as fast as she could. As we talk about forging the holy sword, he suddenly lights up with a plan and strides right up to her. She blurts out his name, totally baffled, and he orders her to break the seal on her eye. This request leaves Lakia reeling, and Porro's worry spikes fast. He warns that Yazura could die, while Yazura just fires back, asking what he's planning to do. Ignoring everyone, he locks eyes with Lakia and demands, "Do you trust me with your life?" Without a shake, she answers, "I do," because the moment he took her hand, her life became his, and she swore it over. Then she reaches to lift the seal, the eye patch, but it's too hard for her. So Phil steps in, gently stops her, tells her it's okay, and then snatches it off himself in a flash. The cursed eye snaps open, and boom, an ominous magic circle comes into view, showing him right away all the dark flaws stitched into it. He kicks on his golden arm, unleashes almighty refinement, and smashes the cursed eye's magic circle like a finishing blow. The process hits so hard that shockwaves rip through the air, and clouds of dust explode outward like a punch. But once it's over, Lakia's cursed eye settles, fully, cleanly, no chaos anywhere. No black aura, no magic circle at all. She just locks eyes with Vil, both clear and wide, like she's completely in control. She snaps out of her daze, jerks her gaze away, and frantically asks Will if he's still alive. He lets out a breath, tells her he's fine, and says he's right here. That's when she finally notices it. Her eye is fully healed again. But Porro still won't let his guard down because Lakia's right eye suddenly starts glowing. Nothing hits at first, so Yazura starts wondering if it really turned into a divine relic. Vil backs this up, saying Yazura started as a demonic blade, and Lakia's eye is cursed for the same reason too. So he uses the exact same play. Like that blade, the cure was inside her eye the whole time. Even though the curse's design looked impossible, he tore it apart piece by piece, rebuilt what was missing, and brought the eye back to life. Hearing that, Lakia dashes straight to Vil, calls him her love, and begs him to smash her with one more ultimate, leaving him stunned as he blinks. "Do you really want that?" As she leaps up and straddles him, he snaps that she's doing too much, until a single droplet of water splashes onto his face. He looks up and sees her weeping with pure joy. Then she grabs his heart with praise, telling him he's incredible for breaking her curse. And before she can even catch her breath, he smiles and says, "You've gotten stronger." And once he admits the truth, she wastes no time. She demands he marry her on the spot, and he shuts her down flat. Meanwhile, deep in the kingdom of Gitnerga, right inside the Hapusai shop, Setchin slaps a demonic-looking seal onto a rusty, battle-scarred sword, and the imprint it leaves is dead-on like the magical circle glowing in Lakia's demonic eye. As soon as the mark starts to blaze, The old rusty sword rips itself into a brand new, high-quality weapon, sharp, clean, and ready for battle. With a wicked grin, Setchin stares at the seal like it's a miracle. Now he can forge any fake tools he wants. Then he whips around toward the person posted by the shop entrance and gives them a heartfelt thanks. They tell him, "Don't thank me," then slap the warning into his hands. Use that cursed false seal well. Back where Vil is, Laquia snaps that if she can beat him right now, he'll be hers. Because with her brand new divine eye, she's sure he won't be able to fight the pull of loving her. And just like that, she rockets forward and slams into him, unleashing her divine eye to freeze him in place. He darts away at once, and she crashes down onto Porro, pinning him as he goes utterly still. Shocked, she demands, "How did it work on me but not on you?" Will just smirks, because obviously it wouldn't touch me. I'm the one who created it. And since he was the original inventor, he wasn't about to let his own creation wipe him out, so when he perfected it, he built in one safeguard. He made himself immune. While Porro sings Will's praises, Laquia yanks her by the hair in pure frustration, because this was her only shot to claim him. After what feels like forever, they finally smash through the doors and arrive in the Empire of Maduak. Inside the carriage, Laquia slid up against Vil and told him, "Yeah, it's not the grand wedding announcement I pictured, but I still want the Empress to know you gave me back my sight." Hearing that, he blurts out, "How is Her Majesty doing?" And Porro, gripping the reins on the carriage, laughs back, "You'll see soon enough." Since they've finally rolled into the imperial capital, Carter Town, the whole place is wrapped in a towering barrier dome. So when Vil lays eyes on it, his breath catches every single time as it sprawls across the sky. Porro shoots a question, "What are you talking about?" And Vil points it out, the barrier. Then he leans in and demands, "Can't you see it swallowing the entire town?" Yezora then leans in and tells him straight up. What he's seeing is the barrier guarding the city, something normal humans can't even perceive, and if it's showing up for him, it can only mean his craftsman skills have skyrocketed. Vil snaps into focus and realizes it. His perception has sharpened, even though he only just worked on the barrier device back in the Gai Tenerga kingdom. This is the first time he's actually seeing the barrier with his own eyes. Later, Laquia drags him to the imperial palace, and there, on a chaise lounge, an old woman is waiting, just staring him down. Laquia bows to the woman and calls her Majesty, then tells her with a sharp grin that she's back. Porro shoots a stunned look when he learns the Empire's leader is a woman, and Laquia fires back that this Empire worships strength above all, no matter who it's in. She explains that when the Empire teetered on the edge of disaster, Her Majesty Artemis didn't just command. She led her own private army into the fight to shield the nation, and in return, the Empire finally recognized her. Empress Artemis then steps in and warmly greets Vil, saying it's been ages since they last met. Vil answers with a deep bow, like a lifetime has stretched between them. That moment hits Porro like a thunderclap. She blurts out, "Wait, do you two know each other?" Laquia then drops the truth. It was Empress Artemis who originally pushed Vil to lift her curse. With a shaky voice, Artemis thanks Vil for rushing to Laquia's aid again, and then she rushes out an apology because she's clearly not at her best. Porro spots it and blurts, "Are you sick?" Laquia nods and tells her the truth. Her lungs are wrecked and the coughing hits like a storm. She insists that even the Empire's best medical tech can't fix it, and Artemis adds the final gut punch. There isn't much time left. Will snaps back that it won't happen, because he knows she's strong and he's sure she'll pull through, while Artemis murmurs, almost defeated, that there's nothing they can do. Her body is shutting down, and even the doctors have admitted she's running out of time. With all that settled, she can finally breathe easy. She got the chance to thank him before everything ended. Then Vil leans in and drops the truth. He has a request. She tells him to say it straight, because after all, he's the one who saved this Empire's hero. With her permission, he begs to heal her shattered body, and the moment it lands, she's absolutely stunned. She tells him every healer and even the saints have failed, no one can fix me. Then she fires back, and you're a blacksmith, so you should know the truth. Tools can be repaired, but people can't. Vil nods, admitting his power can mend wounds and even regrow lost parts. But an illness is a whole different beast he can't fix. Since she said it wasn't a disease at all, just her body falling apart, he told her to let him step in and fix her broken self. Laquia nods and tells Artemis that Vil is pure fire, so exceptional he's practically divine, and that means it's absolutely worth going for. She finally nods and hands him her trust, because what he did for Laquia earlier, that's with her full permission. Will slams his golden arm into action, unleashes full restoration, and then swings his hammer straight into her chest. The restoration hits the moment her body lights up as she drifts into the air. Then a blazing, radiant aura snaps around her. until she looks like a perfect ball of light. Lakia and Porro gasp in pure disbelief as the light bursts forth, burning with 7 merged colors that leave them staring in awe. Then bam! A man bursts into the room, sprinting straight to the Empress with an emergency, and the moment he sees what's going on. He grips the sword, slamming out, "Tell me, what have you done to Her Majesty?" Then Lakia pivots fast, calling him General Adrak, and fires back that these are the Empress's guests, and that Her Majesty is getting treatment right now, so she demands, "Now what emergency is it?" Drek snaps the truth, the barrier device has failed, and then the nightmare hits. Demonic insect hordes are barreling straight for the Imperial capital, shocking her to the core while Vil watches everything in deadly silence. They all spill out onto the balcony, and then they spot it, a giant swarm of insect monsters crawling closer by the second. Luckily, every citizen is packed inside the Imperial palace. But with so many enemies crashing in, the walls can't hold, and the whole scene feels like a living nightmare. Lakia fires off an order, "Adrak, get the citizens out," while she charges straight at the monsters alone, but Adrak snaps back and stops her, insisting she can't. Just as the demonic insects start swarming through the shattered barrier and tearing into people, she turns to him and demands he fix it. Then he answers back. He tells her the engineers running it are outside the Empire right now, and when everything looks doomed, Vil steps up and vows, "I'll fix the barrier myself." He strides to the balcony's edge as Adrak lunges after him, shouting, "What are you doing?" Vil slams his golden arm to life, and that sudden blaze of light makes Adrak jerk back in shock. As Vil studies the barrier, his eyes snag a magic circle right in the center, one that looks just like the mark he saw in Lakia's evil eye, and before he can even think, he rockets straight toward it. The barrier shudders and gives way, and one insect monster nearly blasts through. Then the rest crowd in right on its heels. But just as they're about to cross in, Vil slams the barrier with pure, almighty precision. It blazed with a blinding glow and instantly restored everything, leaving every single person in total shock. Vil drops to the ground and lands safely, fully convinced that the barrier's blinding light will cook those bugs before they can last. And just like he predicted, the insect monsters started to disappear, and Adrax froze, completely stunned. Vil then reveals the real upgrade. He's turned the barrier into something that powers itself, and the second a monster touches it, it shatters it to dust. Vil adds that the layer he fixed looked wrecked from the inside, and the moment Adrak hears it, he snaps, accusing him of lying and swearing that nobody can actually lay eyes on the barrier. Vil ignores him and pushes on, saying that if the barrier were just naturally degrading, it wouldn't crash all at once, so someone had to be sabotaging it. Then he notices Adrak sweating like crazy, and that's weird because he never even pinned it on him directly. Right then a voice thundered out of the palace hall, "How shameless," and every single person snapped their heads toward it, stunned. It's Artemis, though she looks so damn young that nobody, not even Vil, can spot who she really is at first. Seeing that crown settle on her head, Adrak lunges into questions. Where's the Empress? Artemis stays ice calm and asks if he still doesn't get it. Then she speaks it like a verdict. She is the Empress, Artemis, ruler of the Empire. Porro and Lakia are completely stunned, while Vil just sits there utterly lost. One of the knights blurts out, "What happened to your body?" And Artemis fires back that Vil repaired her, convinced the rejuvenation is just a side effect of his work. Once Vil hears it, the truth hits hard. Her cells didn't just mend, they got ripped out and rebuilt with brand new ones. The citizens watch her transformation unfold like magic, and then they erupt into chants. Long live Her Majesty Artemis. Then she snaps an order. Have the knights seize General Adrak and hurl him straight into the dungeon. When the knights rush in to grab him, Adrax violently shoves them aside. He rips open his suit and blasts the lid off an array of explosives, then shouts, "Glory to the 7 powers," and scrambles to trigger them. But before that explosion even has a chance to fire off, Artemis barrels forward and kicks him with a brutal burst of force, and Adrak gets launched into the air like a missile. Artemis storms in and declares that anyone who dares lay a hand on this empire will face the Empress's wrath. No mercy. And then bam, he detonates in midair, and that's the end of him. The crowd explodes into cheers, chanting at the top of their lungs, "All hail Her Majesty Artemis." Once everything finally settles down, Artemis whips around to Vil and asks how she could ever repay his kindness. Then Vil just grins softly and says her smile is payment enough. Because that's exactly what he wants, Artemis breaks into a real, warm smile and blushes a little as she does. While they watch, Porro blurts that she's crazy popular. Lakia nods hard and adds that Artemis still hasn't found a husband. Then Porro's eyes widen like, "Wait, does that make her our rival too?" Laquia doesn't hesitate. Yep, we're facing her together. Porro grins and agrees. Now Vil can't stop replaying Adrex's final words. What did the 7 powers even mean, and who are they? Meanwhile, inside the Hassan Company building in the Gaitnerga Kingdom's capital, Sirakal is boiling with rage. Because ever since the royal family severed ties with her, the nobles have slammed the door too. If she loses even one more major client, her company won't just be in trouble, it'll be finished. Lost in her own spiraling thoughts, she suddenly hears a knock, and when the door rattles, she snaps, "Who is it? Why are you bothering me?" Then the door swings open, and Sirakal is stunned, because the woman standing there isn't just anyone, it's the guildmaster herself. Sirakal quickly blurts out an apology for what she did earlier, but her mind races. Why is an S-rank master from the Adventurers Guild showing up right now? The guildmaster waves it off like it's nothing and beams as she thanks Sirakal from the bottom of her heart for the amazing sword she bought the other day. Then Sarakal's eyes light up, because she remembers that it was one of Vil's creations, and she proudly declares she's honored to serve. The guild master keeps going, and she admits she was so blown away by that sword that she went and ordered 50 more for the guild. With a sharp flick of her hand, she casts a spell and bam. Magic brings a crate crashing down, packed with swords, and she kicks it open to snatch one out. Seeing this, Sirakal lights up with pride, tells her they poured their heart and soul into forging the blades, and asks if the swords live up to her expectations. Then the guild leader lifts the sword high, staring at its beauty like it's priceless. But then she realizes something's wrong with its sharpness. Off like it's not right, and she snaps, tosses the sword up, and pulls her own blade, crafted by Vil. And he smashes the falling blade, cleaving it clean in two. Sirakal jerks in shock, gasping as she hits the ground. When the broken sword rattles beside her, a dark mist oozes out of the halves, exposing it for what it is, a rusty, bottom-of-the-barrel counterfeit. The guildmaster squints and snaps that it's all a lie. That sword looks top-tier, but it's totally fake. Sirakal freezes, still in disbelief. Her face set in stone, the guildmaster snaps that this kind of neglect put her people in danger. And then she vows to sue the Hassan Company for fraud. Shaken to the core, Sirakal bursts into tears, clings to the guildmaster's leg, and begs for mercy, screaming that if they get sued, they're done for. And she vows that this will never happen again. The guildmaster never saw this coming. She can only brace herself as she realizes the Hassan Company is finished. Just as the guildmaster whirls to go, she tells Sirakal, "We'll meet in court." Sirakal panics and blurts after her, begging, "Wait, please." Meanwhile, inside the Hapis Eye smithy, Setchin keeps forging those fake swords, because it's ridiculously easy for him. One lousy stamped seal on a low-grade blade, and boom, it suddenly looks worth a fortune. He thinks he can snag trash swords, stamp them with his seal, and flip them for insane prices. Then right on cue. Just as his thoughts start to race, Sirakal bursts in like a storm and hurls the shattered sword at him, shouting for an explanation. Startled, Setchin demands what she means, and his eyes snap to the blade as one of his own. As he mutters under his breath, he starts second-guessing everything, where all the swords he's been forging just fakes. She snaps at him that his sheer stupidity has landed them in a lawsuit, one that comes from the entire Adventurers Guild. Setchin tries to brush it off, saying they can sell more and rake in even bigger profits, and that people now chase appearances over quality. Then Sirakal blows up, furious, demanding to know if he's completely lost his mind. She snaps that quality means nothing to him as long as the product moves, and rips into his choices, saying it's an insult to every blacksmith alive. To knock some sense into him, she fires off a warning that cutting corners will send every single customer running straight out the door. And when he just can't get it, she finally snaps, asking if he's got crap for brains. Then she dares him. If he really thinks he's better, then fine. He just has to forge one single A-grade sword, and that's all. But when he hesitates, Sirakal snaps to the truth. He can't back it up. For all that noise, he's got nothing to show, and now they're seconds away from losing everything. In that moment, the truth finally slams into her. Vil is the heart of the Hassan Company, and it's his skill keeping them alive, his craft driving their products off the shelves. Vil's name hits the air, and boom, he snaps, firing off. "So you want me to trust that guy again?" Right when he's about to brag he's better than Will, he flicks his gaze to the seal in his hand, smirks, and loudly declares that with it, he'll turn trash into priceless relics. Watching him spiral like this, Sirakal can't help but think, what a fool you've become, clinging to fakes that are utterly worthless. Then a sharp, vivid image of Will hits her like a punch, and her stomach drops as she realizes how on earth she could have been that stupid. Just as she turns to go, Setchin lunges for her hand to stop her, but she swats him away and snaps, That's enough. Staring him down, she tells him to his face that Vil is far more capable than he'll ever be. Then she turns and walks away, and Setchin is left crushed, collapsing hard onto the ground. Muttering Vil's name again and again, each time it turns colder, and then a violent aura swells up from him, rage thick as smoke, until he snarls that Vil always steals the credit. Then something takes control. He spits curses at Vil with seething hatred, and his dark aura surges brighter and hotter until it finally cuts out. The blast swallows the whole smithy, and from afar, the person who handed him the seal just watches it all blow up in real time. A sinister smirk crawled across his face, sharp as a warning. Meanwhile, Vil and Porro charge up to a jagged mountain spot, and Porro blurts, "So this is it, right?" Vil nods hard and says this is the fief Empress Artemis gave him. "Yes, Crowley, this is yours to know." Even after he told her he didn't want a reward, she wouldn't back down. She demanded he take it and swore the Empire owed him its survival, 3 times over. Morrow says that since Will's inherited this fief, he's gotta be called the Lord of Crowley. Then Will panics a little, saying the title feels way too heavy, and he'd rather she just call him Will. More importantly, he's thrilled the land comes with a mine, and he's even luckier because the Empress plans to ship people in to run the estate. That gives him all the time he needs to dig into the mine and start building his workshop. Then Porro spots a village on the horizon and pushes, "Let's hit that place first." Moments later, they crash into the village, so dead quiet it feels cursed, with no movement anywhere, and Vil just freezes, totally baffled. Right as they stroll through the village, a scream erupts out of nowhere, and someone barrels toward them at full speed. Turns out that person is a girl. She's bolting in panic, trips hard, and crashes to the ground, terrified out of her mind as a huge shadow looms over her. A reptile-like monster is snapping after her, and she's sprinting away, until it's right on the verge of striking. Will unleashes his almighty air prison, trapping it just in time and barely yanking the girl out of danger. Pinned in place, the creature can't move as Porro charges in and goes for the kill, snapping that attacking a young girl is absolutely unforgivable. Right as she's about to swing, the girl blurts out a desperate plea, begging Porro to stop and swear she won't hurt her grandfather. Hearing that, Porro snaps the attack to a halt and whips her gaze to Will, because he looks just as lost as she feels. Porro steps up and introduces Vil to the girl, telling her Vil is the new Lord of Crowley. Then her jaw just drops in shock. Suddenly, a whole wave of lizard-like humanoids bursts out of hiding and drops to their knees before Vil, begging him with desperate urgency to save their village. And that leaves Porro even more stunned, completely clueless about what's happening. A few seconds later, Vil and Porro get hauled to the girl's house, where she's sitting with the villagers, proudly insisting that the lizard creature beside her is her grandfather. She introduces herself, Noah, and calls that lizard creature her grandfather, Lagaro, the village chief, and Will and Porro are floored when they realize this lizard used to be human. Noah then starts unfastening her dress, exposing her bare back in one daring move, which is wrapped in lizard-like scales, so Shockingville hits even harder. She says it all traces back to a curse the white dragon god from the mountain laid on her, and when Vil finally asks about the dragon, Noah tells everyone it's an ancient deity that rules the wind. So if that dragon's gust hits you, the curse leaves its mark, and once it crawls through your whole body, you end up turning into a mindless lizard man. With that said, Vil snaps his gaze to the lizard's head, and there it is, the exact same mark he spotted in the barrier, and staring back at him from Laquia's cursed eyes. He clocks it instantly, then snaps into action, rising to his feet and leaving Noah completely baffled. Then he closes in on the lizard and tears apart the air prison, leaving Noah and Porro completely stunned. Then he slams the switch and ignites his golden hand. He hammers the lizard's magic circle with pure almighty force, crushing power and perfect refinement at once, and the lizardman's body snaps back to human form on the spot. In mere seconds, the village chief is fully restored. Noah couldn't hold it. He lunged into a quick hug, crying, "Are you okay?" And her grandfather's reply from the village chief was simple, "I'm fine." Noah seals the moment and confirms the curse is gone. Then he tells him it was the new lord who healed him and turns to introduce Vil. She's blown away when she sees Porro marching through the crowd, barking, "Get in line!" And everyone obeys. Then Vil steps in and unleashes his skill, mending them completely. Noah and her grandfather are left staring in stunned silence, their jaws hanging open as the reality hits. Once everyone swears they're healed and fully back to normal, Vil and Porro spin a head out, and they wave goodbye before they go. She snaps out of the house, chases after them, and blurts, "Vil, where are you going?" Vil shoots back that it looks like the white dragon god is next, and he's got a nasty feeling the 7 powers are about to get mixed into this. Soon the villain Porro finally shows up at the White Dragon Mountain range, where a forgotten ruin hides under thick, choking miasma. Porro blurts out an apology for the headache of that barrier, but she's dead sure that without it, they'd be rotting in the exact same miserable pile as those corpses nearby. Vil can't shake the feeling that something's off, because this miasma doesn't look like the curse's real source at all. Meanwhile, Porro, perched on a tree trunk-like thing and scanning the area, confirms it too. The dragon god isn't here either. Right then, she spots the trunk-like thing twitching. Then it shoots up in a flash, knocking her down hard and forcing her to blurt, "What the heck is that?" As she squints into the distance, it hits her. This isn't just a shadow, it's the white dragon god, and she's been sitting on its tail the whole time. More importantly, she realizes the dragon isn't white at all, it's pitch black. Then it starts sucking flames into its mouth, and its throat bulges out like a frog preparing to croak. It blasts fire straight at her, and she's so stunned she can't even move. Vil snaps into action, throwing up a barrier that smothers the flames right in their tracks. Then he boasts that this is his upgraded barrier, better than the one they used in the capital, and when Porro hears it, he blurts out, "So it's divine." Vil doesn't even get a chance to answer before the dragon suddenly lunges straight at them. But it's useless. His face slams into the barrier and won't crack through it. Will keeps talking, saying the barrier doesn't just block miasma, its flexibility soaks up even straight-up physical hits. You watch the dragon get slammed back, blasted through the air and crash hard into the ground. The blast hits, boom, cracks tear through the ground, and Vil freezes, stunned, thinking, what the hell is going on? Then he realizes it isn't just cracked, the whole ground is hollow. As it collapses, Vil, Porro, and that dragon crash straight down, plunging into the void below. Thanks to Vil's insanely flexible barrier, they slam down safely. Then they rip the barrier away. Will quickly checks on Porro, and she tells him she's okay, thanks to his protection. But when the same kind of safety doesn't hit the dragon, it comes crashing down, even with wings. Seeing that, Vil realizes the curse is so brutal it could trap even a dragon on the ground, like it can't lift off at all. When Porro asks how a dragon could end up cursed like this, Vil spots the clue and boom, everything clicks into place. Then he charges straight at the dragon, and Porro's jaw drops as she blurts out his name, because even the dragon looks stunned. But since it can't even fight back, it only roars, while Porro insists she must have made it angry by stepping on its tail. Will makes it crystal clear. The dragon isn't furious at all, it's racked with deep, tearing pain. As he steps up to the dragon, Vil bows with respect and calls it an honorable creature, then admits he doesn't know what's hurting it, but begs for a moment of trust, promising he'll bring it back to its former glory. When he hears the meaning in the dragon's words and spots real sincerity in its eyes, the dragon finally backs down, lowering its head and trusting him enough to let him do exactly as he wants. And now, with the dragon on his side, Vil slams his golden hands to life and unleashes that almighty refinement skill with a brutal strike. Right away, the dragon's black aura starts to unravel and fade as its wounds knit shut, and it slams back into its true form. Right then, the curse snaps off the dragon, and it springs back to full glory, just like Vil swore it would. The dragon shoots out a stunned, jaw-dropping "no way" as it scales, and their color truly come back, and Phil can't believe it either because he's hearing it talk. He blurts out whether all dragons can speak. After a short pause, the dragon drops the bombshell. It's a dragon god, and that's why it can talk. Once they realize this, Porro's jaw drops when she realizes, yes, it's really a dragon god, not a fake, because those black scales had fooled her before, and Vil's restored it to its true form. The dragon thanks Vil with a thunderous breath, then admits it never once learned his name. Will then bursts in and tells everyone he's a traveling blacksmith named Will, but Porro quickly flips the script. Nope, he's Lord Will Craft, the new Lord of Crowley. When the dragon hears the thief's name, it jolts in surprise and says they're practically the same. And right as Will and Porro lock eyes with confused looks, the dragon god leans in and reveals this. Its name is the same as the land, because the old king once crowned it with that very title. When Vil hears the land was named after the dragon, he cringes and apologizes for trespassing. The dragon waves it off like it's nothing, because that kingdom is long gone and Vil's claim actually holds. Vil cuts right to it. Why did the dragon get cursed in the first place? The dragon sighs that ever since the land lost its king, it's been wandering, broken with grief. In those heartbreak-filled days, a shadowy figure suddenly cursed it, right out of the blue. When Porro hears it, she realizes that after the curse took hold, mountain winds started sweeping in and spreading sickness through the villagers. Now she worries, and the dragon demands to know if all of this has turned into a burden on everyone. Vil steadies the dragon, telling it none of this is its fault. Then he spots a fresh magic circle etched right beneath them. Stunned, the dragon blurts out what it is and Will smirks. It's a magic circle, all illusion and trickery. Most people can't even spot it, and he can't believe the dragon can, especially since Porro can't. Then Will lays it bare. The circle whips up nasty thoughts, blasts a huge area, and traps its victims so they can't get away. He's convinced the one who cursed the dragon is tied to the 7 powers. And once he finds that out, the dragon god swears he'll rip the 7 powers apart. With a roar, the dragon rams its claw into the magic circle. But the circle holds, unbroken and glowing, and it freezes in stunned disbelief. Vil steps in to save the day. He fires up his golden hand again, slams it into the magic circle with a crushing blow, and wields pure, total destruction and precision. The circle explodes the second it forms, then disappears into nothingness, and all that power just proves how unstoppable his refinement really is. And somehow he restores the castle that used to stand there. Then he whips around to tell the dragon it can come and go without any chains. But right as he speaks, he is. He nearly choked on his own shock when the creature transformed into a girl, and he blurted out, "Lady Crowley," in disbelief. She's stunned. She can barely believe he actually built a sanctuary just for her, and when Porro and Vil hear it, they snap with the question, is a god really that moved by something like this? Lady Crowley, the dragon god, lays it out. When gods drop from heaven, their power drains away, unless they stay inside their sanctuary. And now that she's got her safe haven, she's roaring back at full strength, which means she can polymorph too. So yeah, the rebuilt castle isn't just a fortress anymore. It's her celestial domain. Vil can't believe it. He really built a sanctuary, and now it's hers, her very own domain, as he stares in awe at what he made, right down to the mark on his hand. Crowley spots it too. She snatches his hand fast to get a clearer look, and her face lights up as she realizes it's the sun's mark. An insanely rare sigil that awakens the power of the golden hand, the ultimate proof that he's truly grasped the sun. Since the world began, only a handful have ever been granted that honor, and hearing it leaves Porro stunned, because Crowley somehow knows everything. Later, she remembers spotting that same sigil in her territory, and then Crowley leads Vil and Porro to the exact spot where it once showed up. Even though it looks close at first glance, Vil's hand is only marked with a plain golden circle, so it doesn't scream special like the others. Will thinks he just found the perfect match, but Crowley cuts in and says this was the late king's favorite spot. Then she hops around the sigil like, "Wait, I don't even know why it mattered to him." She snaps that no matter how hard she tries, nothing moves at all. Then Will strides right up to the sigil, and the moment his fingers touch it, he's begging it to reveal its secret. The sigil starts to glow in perfect sync with the mark on his hand, and it hits him like a gut punch. Everyone blurts his name in panic. Vil feels the marking thrum and shake, like it's alive, and his mind races with one terrifying thought. Is this how he gets pulled in? Right as that thought hits, the world wipes to black. Then Vil snaps his eyes open, and everything cuts off with the... He wakes up in a totally unfamiliar place, and the second he realizes it, he fires off a frantic question. Where am I? Right then he hears Crowley ask, "Are you all right?" And it totally throws him. He whips his head around, but she's nowhere to be seen, only her voice echoing inside his head. Crowley explains she's reaching him through telepathy, a skill that lets her talk across long distances, and Bill can't help but be amazed. Meanwhile, Porro worries sick about his safety, and Crowley presses on, saying this power doesn't just fight. It also lets the senses line up perfectly. Then she leans in and asks if he got yanked into a mysterious city after the sigil's magic swallowed him whole. Vil nods yes, saying this is the only thing that makes sense. Then he lunges forward and smashes straight into an invisible wall. And then he clocks it. Yeah, it looks like daylight, but the sky has no sun at all. Crowley shoots the question, "Are you thinking the same thing?" And Will hits back with another solid yep. They're convinced this is an underground space, and the sky above is nothing but a crafty illusion. He's convinced that sigil is the key that opens the way into this hidden artificial city. And when he compares it, it screams Hapasai Workshop all over again, like they're connected. From his grandfather's tales, he figured the entry works the same way with blocks, just like that. But when he tried with his own markings, only he could get in, and even a powerhouse dragon like Crowley couldn't. So he shuts the door on the idea that anyone else has access, and Crowley snaps back, saying she's grateful for the vote of confidence, but she's got her limits. Will nods, and then, bam, he spots a floating round sigil just like the one on his hand. Something about it feels off from the rest, so he reaches out and touches it. The sigil disappears in a blink, and suddenly a gate slams into view, stunning him to his core. Charlie is just as shocked, then blurts out that this dungeon is the ultra-rare, top-tier, nearly impossible place known as the Fall, one of the 7 hills. As Will presses for answers, Crowley reveals the truth. These ancient hidden dungeons are scattered all over the world, and the Fall is the first one ever found. She says humans usually leave behind a trail of magical power, but this place has 0 lingering aura, which means Will isn't just the first to enter. He's the first person to ever step inside. Then he pushes through the gate and stops dead. This place is way too strange, like the sigil was forged by a legendary smith of Hapusai. How has nobody ever found it? Right then he spots an ore gleaming against the wall, so he leans in, studies it up close, and Will swears it's not admin tight nor divine iron. His eyes lit up with pure excitement. This has to be brand new mineral ore he's never seen before, the kind he can turn into fresh tools, so he has to get it. Crowley tells him straight up that the books she's read say these dungeon walls are indestructible, so he'll never pull it out. Before she can even wrap up her sentence, Vil slams down his level 1 destruction skill, decomposition, and the wall instantly crumbles like paper. Crowley freezes, stunned, blurting out what he just did and demanding to know if that destruction skill is really something a blacksmith is supposed to wield. Totally rattled, Will blurts out what she means. Then she explains, if your power can shatter a dungeon wall, it can wipe everything clean with 1 hit. And right after that, she leans in and demands, so, do you get just how terrifying that is? With total nonchalance, he yanks out his storage box and flings the ore inside, straight up, no big deal. Crowley's face twists as shock slams in and he blurts, how can you treat this like it's normal? And what even is this box? Vil presses, so you mean his storage box? Crowley snaps back furious, yes, obviously. Will tells Crowley that this skill is just a power-up of his golden hand, an ability she swears is one of the top-tier production skills. But she's stunned, because from what she knows, golden hand isn't supposed to come with extra features. Will lets it slip with the golden hand power he's got 5 skills. Almighty refinement, almighty destruction, full restoration, and enhancement. And when Crowley's frozen in shock, Will doubles down and brings up the last one. Even without saying its name, he admits he's not exactly a big fan of the 5th skill. Yeah, he calls it kinda. Then cuts himself off and pushes on with the dungeon map. And that's why Crowley tells him, you'll have to go explore first and figure out how. Stuffing in a few sheets of paper with a graphite rod, Phil smirks and says he won't even bother exploring. The map is already finished. Crowley blinks, ready to ask when he pulled that off, but Phil just taps the paper and graphite rod with surgical almighty precision. Right away, a crystal-clear map pops into view and he orders Crowley, take a look. Her eyes go wide, she's freaking out, telling him not to just casually tell her to see it and demands to know when he ever managed to snag the labyrinth's layout in the first place. Will shoots back that right back earlier. When he smashed the ore with his hammer, he read the ground's vibrations to chart the labyrinth. Crowley hears that and his mind blows, because it's basically bat sonar, and he can't help asking, so, is there anything you can't do? He says, it's nothing, but you can tell he's just built different, because that's exactly what a blacksmith does best. 2 moments later, the sigil on the ground flares back to life, and Vil blasts his way out of the dungeon. Right as he's about to blurt out, I'm back, Porro comes flying in and smothers him in a huge hug. Tears poured down her face as she blurted out how terrified she'd been. Confused, Vil insists it's nothing, like no more than an hour could have passed, until Crowley snaps, you're wrong. Inside the dungeon, time runs wild and Vil's been missing for 10 full days, leaving him absolutely stunned. Wanting to make it up to Porro, he slips her a hairpin he forged himself as an apology, clips it into her hair, then practically bolts away and asks, can you hear me? And it freaks her out because, yep, she can. Then Vil explains the truth. It's a communication device so he can talk to her from anywhere, even from inside a dungeon. And the moment it clicks, Porro's cheeks warm with a shy blush. Happily, he calls out his name and lunges in for a hug. Then Crowley asks if it works like a telepathy device. Will nods and says he got the idea from her, and that floors her, because he's just built a communication device using a power only dragons can do. Ever since meeting him, she's been blindsided again and again, so she finally throws up her hands and stops trying to understand. With that settled, Vil leans in and drops a request. A few moments later in Lamont Village, where Vil once healed everyone, they waste no time rebuilding the smashed homes and fixing the broken roads and utilities. Working alongside everyone is the village chief, coughing up a storm while his granddaughter Noah pleads for him to stop, warning he's overdoing it. Yet he digs in, refusing to quit, determined to help rebuild the village as fast as he possibly can. Noah tries to keep arguing, but a voice booms down from above, saying the job now belongs to someone else. So Noah snaps his head to the sky and demands, "Who are you?" Turns out the voice belongs to Will. He swoops in on Crowley as she takes her shining white dragon god form. Vil lands safely in front of the villagers and tells Noah he brought the white dragon god with him, and the shock hits her hard as everyone stares. Until the moment the villagers hear that name, panic explodes, and they scramble to run, convinced the cursed legend is about to come for them. Seeing how terrified they look, Crowley's chest tightens. She can't shake the fear that her presence only makes things worse. So she decides to leave, but right as she's about to launch into the sky, Will snaps, "Stop." As she pauses, Porro bursts out to the villagers that Vil has crushed the curse for good, so everyone freezes mid-run. Then Vil declares that from this moment on, nothing will ever plague this land again. He tells everyone the white dragon god got hurt too, and now she's here to beg forgiveness, which leaves Crowley totally thrown off, so he stares at Vil as Vil presses. "So you don't want to fix things." He yanks a scale from her and declares that this is exactly what he needs, yet Crowley's even more confused. When Porro spots the scale in his hand, Vil strides to the villagers, flings it up into the air, and slams his golden hand to life. With a flawless strike of the falling scale, he slams down an arcane circle on the ground, and it starts assembling a spell on its own. The whole thing becomes a fountain shaped like Crowley's dragon, and the moment water starts pouring out of that dragon's mouth, the village chief spots it glowing in 7 wild colors, snaps Noah over to see it, and she, along with every other villager, stares in pure, jaw-dropping astonishment. The moment the water hits him, the village chief gasps. Everything in him comes alive again, stronger than before, and it's not just him. Every villager in NOAA feels that same calm, healing rush too. Still baffled, Crowley blurts out what's going on. So Vil explains the plan. Her scales can heal naturally, and he figured if he turned them into a fountain, the villagers could draw on that power forever. And just like he prayed for, those scales work like a miracle, healing fast and strong. Vil bursts into the village crowd and shouts that the water holds the white dragon's healing magic. One sip, and every illness or wound vanishes on the spot. He tells them this fountain is the white dragon god's apology and begs them to accept it. The villagers jump at the chance, then bow hard in front of Crowley, thanking her like their prayers were answered. Moved by their gratitude, Crowley murmurs Vil's name and pours out a heartfelt thank you for everything he's done. With a bright smile on his face, Vil answers, and then out of nowhere an owl swoops in, lands on his shoulder, and Vil just knows it's a messenger. He pulls out the tiny paper scroll, and the owl rockets off the moment he starts reading. A note orders him to race back to the imperial capital, because the hero, Lady Caroline, got hurt while battling some unknown monster. 4 hours earlier in Carter, a guard perched on the castle wall spots a monster tearing into someone below, and he immediately screams for the others, warning everyone that disaster is coming. Caroline, racing toward Will, bursts in front of the Empire, and right when she arrives, the monster drops in on her, and the fight ends with her badly injured. No matter how hard she tries, it's like the giant octopus monster shrugs it all off. Nothing lands, nothing sticks. Corey snaps that it's unlike anything they've ever fought, and without that one specific move, they can't beat it. And when C hears that, Caroline rockets upward and whips her sword around in 2 blazing full spins, each turn flinging out spinning, disc-like blades, one slicing forward in front of her and another roaring behind. Then those discs start violently shaking and morph into razor-sharp crescent moons. She locks eyes on the monster and fires with perfect precision. She slams the moons right down on it. This is her signature move, the twin moons attack, aka the crescent icebreak. When the moons crash into the monster, a colossal blast detonates. Dust erupts everywhere, and severed tentacles fly through the air like shrapnel. From the smoke, a monster's tentacle lashes out and smashes into her stomach, crushing her down to the ground. Corey panics and shouts her name, and Caroline grits her teeth, pushing herself up, saying they've got to pull off the skill again. But Corey can't even finish asking if she's truly okay before she's in such bad shape that she starts coughing up blood. Corey realizes she can't go on, fixes her eyes on the monster, and strides toward it as Caroline blurts out, stunned and confused. Corey gives her a heartbreakingly gentle smile, tells her she'll never forget everything, and says it's been pure joy serving by her side. Realizing what Corey was planning, Caroline begs her to stop, but it's already over. Her holy swords rip from her hands and slam into Corey, merging as one. Corey rockets straight at the monster and unleashes absolute zero, burning every last ounce of her power to solidify her own body, then totally locks the creature in complete ice. Caroline screams Corey's name in pure panic, then snaps awake in a hospital-like room, her wounds finally bandaged and treated, and the moment her strength runs out, her legs buckle as she starts to fall. Will scoops her up and tells her it's all going to be okay, pushing her to rest, and when she sees him, then remembers Corey's sacrifice, everything breaks loose as she sobs in Will's arms. A few moments later, Caroline finally steadies her breath, even as shock still clings to her, and Will gets it because that holy ice sword wasn't just a weapon to her, it felt like family. Porro leans in and asks if the holy ice sword can be repaired, and Will snaps back that the Hapusai were trusted with guarding the holy swords for a reason. Because they look and move so much like humans, break their bodies and they're gone for good, so constant upkeep is everything. But now the holy ice sword is totally shattered and it's over. There's nothing anyone can do. Hearing that, Porro's heart sinks hard for Corey. While Caroline sobs that she can't even manage a real goodbye, she clutches Corey's core in her hands, crushed that she'll never get to thank him, then breaks down in a shaky, tear-soaked apology. Will snaps out of his shock and blurts, "Is that Corey's core?" But the way she reacts tells him one brutal truth. She has no clue what she's even holding. Vil then tells him the truth. There's a core inside the hilt, the holy sword's heart, and if that core is truly in perfect shape, he might be able to fix Corey. Caught off guard, Caroline blurts out, "Can you really fix Corey?" And Will answers that it might be possible, yeah. One slip and Corey's life would be on her hands, so Caroline snaps her gaze to Corey's core, stunned, then decides to do it because in her mind, a world without Corey isn't worth breathing in. She slaps Corey's core into her palm, thrusts it at Will, and tells him to move. Though he hesitates at first, Still, her iron will hits him like a spark. He decides to try. But he can't shake his doubt, because even his own grandfather only managed the basics on a holy sword, and this one is missing its body entirely, so he wonders if he can really forge a whole new one from zero. Caroline clutches the core in her fist, begs Corey to come back, and then, whoosh, it starts glowing and snaps into a blazing magical circle. Seeing that, Vil snaps to attention, because the core is flashing the sword's exact blueprint. As he scrambles to figure out his next move, he slams his golden hand into action. Then he fires off 5 inherited production skills at once, ties them together in a single chain, and forges a brand new skill called. He reforges the relic and slams its power straight into the core. Right at the Empire's border, where Corey had trapped the monster in ice, Laisha shows up with the full Imperial force, because now the ice can't keep that thing locked in much longer. Soldiers cautiously raise their weapons on the monster, while Lakia steps in close, eyes sharp, heart pounding, trying to figure out what kind of creature could be so terrifying that the ice heroine risked her life just to seal it, and she can't help but wonder what's coming next. Then the ice cracks open, and one of the monster's tentacles bursts free, snapping straight toward Lakia. Before it even gets near her, she snaps orders at the soldiers, and they open fire. As the tentacles lash out, it whips its attack away from Lakia and slams into the soldiers instead, striking them hard. One soldier blurts out that the monster somehow looks even tougher now, like it's powered up since it fought Caroline. The moment Lakia hears it, she wastes no time. She charges straight in before it fully escapes and blasts it with her lightning skill, Cobra. Right when her attack hits, the monster's tentacle crackles with electricity, and for a split second, triumph sparks across her face. Swarming tentacle fragments latch onto a bunch of soldiers, and in seconds they start aging at a horrifying pace. Lakia sees it and screams for everyone to stay away, because those tentacles suck the life out of you. As she can't stop asking why the monster won't die, it snaps its freed tentacle and smashes the remaining ice to pieces. Panic erupts among the soldiers, and Lakia barks for them to hold their ground. She vows to take over from here with her sword art, right on the spot in full force. One soldier snaps that it's a holy technique and that it'll chew through both her life and the blade. But Lakia won't back down, so he realizes this is serious and orders everyone to pull out fast, retreating them straight back toward the imperial capital. Then Lakia shoots an apology to her holy sword, Kamnari, because she knows it's about to get brutal from here. Kamnari shrugs it off, saying it made its choice ages ago when it picked her as its bearer, and yeah, maybe she wasn't the polished lady it pictured, but the time they spent together still made it happy. Lakia thanks it right back. Then the ice around the monster explodes into shards, and it lunges straight at Lakia, right as she rips off her eye patch. Then she whips out her divine eye, slams it on the monster, and triggers Divine Time Lord's gaze to pin it in place. With the monster pinned in place, she rockets upward, drops her whip, and it erupts with vicious lightning as it whirls around her midair. Then she slams her sword art into motion, and the heavens darken as storm clouds roar in and the lightning surges even harder. Then the lightning starts feeding straight into her body as she lines up her strike, until the moment she finally launches that bolt at the monster. It twists into the shape of a massive serpent. Her sword art, asterisk storm serpent Jormungandr asterisk. When the lightning serpent slams into the monster, an earth-shattering blast explodes outward, rattling the ground, blasting dust into the sky, and sending violent shockwaves racing through the air. When the dust finally settles and a huge crater comes into view, there isn't a single trace left of the monster anywhere. Seeing that, Lakia lets out a wave of relief. She wiped out the monster with no more casualties. Right then, the monster claws its way up, its head rising out of the crater, because it cheated her attack by diving underground, and to make it worse, Lakia's totally out of mana while her holy weapon is shattered to pieces. Helpless and crashing down hard, she watches the monster burst fully from the crater, and in that moment Lakia goes death still, silently apologizing to her holy sword, shutting her eyes and resigning herself to the end. Then bam, she hears this loud, satisfying sound, like a hammer crashing down just to calm her. And somehow her strength surges back to full power, so she crashes down and lands clean on her feet, clutching her holy weapon, the very one that got shattered, now fully restored. As she fights to process what just happened, a sudden chill hits. Someone is standing right behind her. Vil shows up first, dragging Porro and Crowley with him. Then Crowley snaps up a barrier and blocks the monster's strike at the last second. As the monster yanks its tentacles back, Vils goes silent, staring at his weapon like it suddenly doesn't make sense. Remembering how he just brought Corey back, he realizes a weapon isn't only for defense, it's tied to the person who wields it. Rage swells in his chest, because that monster smashed something priceless and dragged pain straight into the lives of people he loves. Then Crowley rips the barrier away, right when the monster lunges for another brutal strike, and Lakia rockets in front of Vil, taking the hit to shield him. As she charges in to strike, she yells for everyone to back up, because this monster is terrifyingly dangerous, and even hacking it to bloody shreds won't stop it. She whips it and slices one of its tentacles with lightning, but the moment it doesn't start regenerating like it always does, confusion hits her hard. She snaps to it. Vil didn't just restore her holy weapon, he upgraded it too, and pure joy lights up her face. With that settled, Porro and Crowley crash the fight too. Porro hacks off a tentacle, and Crowley unleashes a roaring burst of fire. Right when Porro slices another tentacle, Yazora lunges in with a warning. Don't let those things touch you, because every hit feels like a curse that sucks the power clean out of the holy blades. Crowley finally spots it, something shifting inside the monster's body as it starts to morph, shredding into a whole new beast, the divine lion. Lakia freezes in shock at the monster's transformation, then it erupts into a furious attack, tentacles everywhere. Porro and the others barely manage to dodge the endless flurry. Bill jerks everyone back, then slams himself with the almighty refinement skill like a power move. It all leads to a brutal body upgrade, and Porro and the others stare in shock as Vil snarls at them to back off, keeping the tiny cub under his control. Right then, the monster rockets forward and swings before it can even be counted. Vil slips away with effortless ease, then taunts it like, "Are you blind, or are you just too slow?" Porro's jaw drops at Vil's sudden speed, and he blurts out how he got that fast. But right as Vil starts to answer, the monster lunges again. But he dodges again, and this time he smashes the creature's claws apart as they swish past. Then he lets it out. Almighty refinement lets him rebuild anything, even his own body. Sure, it only burns bright for a short time, but during that window he becomes a literal superhuman. While Porro and Lackey size up Vil's skills, Crowley shouts at him to stop, because that lion is cursed, just like she was the first time Vil saved her. After that, Vil spots a jewel jammed into the monster's forehead, and his gut screams that this filthy thing is the very reason the curse won't let go. The monster reels in agony, hands clamped to its head, and Crowley's sure it's trapped in unbearable pain. Then Vil studies the jewel and realizes it's sunk deep into the creature's brain, so yanking it out could kill it on the spot, and Lakia adds that it looks just like her own right eye. Vil leans in and studies the cursed circle etched into the jewel, stunned by how twisted the design is, and when the monster can't take the pain anymore, it snaps and charges straight for him. Vil already has his act together. He swings the hammer hard and says the thing clearly needs repairs. He winds up and crashes in one almighty strike, refinement and ruin fused in his swing. Then he grows his hammer and smashes the jewel. The cursed circle cracks on the spot, Light explodes everywhere, and a brutal shockwave blasts through the area. When the dust swallows the battlefield, Crowley blurts out Vil's name in pure panic. Then the haze clears and the beast is still breathing. But right as the curse finally snaps, it drops to the ground, and Vil rushes in to tell it the cursed jewel is gone for good, so it can finally be free. The lion creature gasps in shock, blurting, "Why am I still alive?" While Vil freezes, then realizes the beast isn't a male at all, it's a lioness. She lets out a huge breath of relief, safe at last, and the lioness crumples into tears, thanking her with all her heart for rescuing her and putting an end to her madness. As she thanks him, he gently pats her head and brushes it off like it was nothing, and the lioness soon wanders away, swearing that fate will reunite them again someday. When Laquia hears that and realizes the lioness is actually a girl, frustration flares up, and she snaps that now she might have to compete with a lioness too. Then Will says the lioness is way more lively than he expected, and right as he does, something comes charging out of nowhere and attacks him. Turns out the curse was really the lioness in disguise, hiding inside the soldier's body and yanking the strings. And just like that, it rips fully out of the ground in its real form, roaring for answers. How on earth is the lioness still alive, even after that cursed jewel got shattered? Realizing the curse isn't hiding anymore, Vil snaps, asking if its real body has been cowering underground this whole time, while it's been watching through the night's eye. The curse turns to Vil and demands how he knows its tricks, and Vil shoots back that he doesn't. He just pieced it together by ripping apart the structure of a truly garbage-tier item. Vil decides the curse has played with life long enough, and he swears he'll wrench the twisted structure back into shape. Then the thing cackles, saying it was forged from the 7 greatest cursed objects and calling itself a Tsukimigami. It swears the road ahead is glorious, and it snaps at Vil. Stay out of the way, or you'll get in the way of its mission to wipe out the sacred relics. Will snaps back that before that thing even starts its mission, he'll handle it himself, then purge it clean. At that exact moment, the curse snaps forward, lashing out with hand-like appendages at Vil, and the girls shout his name, panicked and desperate. As those tendril things close in, Vil snaps into panic. One hit and he'll get swallowed whole. He can't strike them head-on, so he unleashes almighty refinement and fires off a sub-skill, Steel Spear Forest. Right on cue, spears burst up out of the earth and hammer the incoming hands, only for him to stare, wondering if the attack finally landed. Their hands slip straight through the spears and land a hit on him, instantly sending Porro and the others into even bigger panic. Purse Moxville drags him through the mud, calling him a fool for wasting his time, then bragging that gods like her can't be hurt by anything mere humans build, only by things that have been touched by the divine. Bill rockets upward, snaps his golden hand to life, and boldly says, "If the curse has the final word, then I'll find out the hard way." He links up with the divine hammer Mjolnir, then hurls it at the curse, convinced it's the hammer he needs to break it. The curse merges all its claw-like limbs into one giant hand, then lunges to grab and crush it. Turns out the weapon isn't just any blade, it's a holy sword. It snaps through the curse and lands a brutal, critical strike, and Vil is left reeling as the curse snarls, demanding how he's got a holy sword in the first place. Will admits his real sacred relic is his hammer, and he's got only one, so losing it is out of the question. So he hatches a new plan, forging this holy sword from that box-like relic hovering over him. Soon, the sword starts crumbling fast until it fully disintegrates. Will snaps that only sacred relics can hurt a god, so he cobbled together a fake one with magic, good for just 1 minute. As the curse staggers at the truth, Will finally admits it. He hates having to use that power. His 5th skill, Infinite Forgeries, kicks in, and suddenly a storm of the very boxes he used to forge the holy sword rains down across the sky. The curse demands answers, so Phil snaps back that these boxes hold the memories of the holy swords the Golden Hand's boss once wielded, and with them, he can recreate those blades. And yeah, if there's mana in the tank, those items can be conjured on the spot, no matter what they're supposed to be, and they'll last just long enough to turn the tide. As he speaks, holy weapons burst out of the boxes like a storm, all aimed dead at the curse, utterly. Porro blurts out, shocked, "So all of these are sacred relics?" Wallachia recognizes Aegis, Gungnir, and Excalibur, and Crowley's jaw drops even harder. This place isn't just a collection, it's a literal museum of sacred relics. Just as Vil braces to strike, the curse worms out even more tentacle-like appendages from beneath the ground, taunting that this won't be the end. Porro snaps a warning to Vil at once. Even though it turns out he didn't need to, Vil snaps sacred relics from the ground to smash the tendrils to dust in an instant, while the curse shrieks in agony. Vil asks if he built relics underground too, then brushes past the question, quietly apologizes to the flickering relics as they blink into existence, and when they vanish a heartbeat later, he still hurls them straight at the curse. Before it dies, the curse gets smashed by the sacred relics, vanishing completely. And in its last breath, it warns Vil that the 7 powers will one day be the end of him. Moments later, after Vil finally catches his breath, Porro holds out an apple. But Caroline snaps, telling her to back off and let him rest. And then Lakia steps in too, demanding they stop, insisting it's her job to care for him because she's his future wife. Caroline fires back, saying, based on what she's heard, Laisha still hasn't beaten Vil even once. Laisha seethes and snarls that she doesn't need some old hag like Caroline tracking her, and as they clash in insults, Porro shoves the apple back into Vil's hands again. Now that his mana's back, he shouts at them to split it between themselves. They all refuse, then, in perfect unison, demand he eat straight from their hands so he can recover faster. Vil can't stop laughing at how they're brawling 1 second and perfectly sync the next, and someone else jumps on his side. It turns out that person is Empress Artemis. She storms in to see him, asks how he's holding up, then takes his hand with a soft grip and urges him to get a full, proper examination because he's the Empire's prized treasure after all. Caroline immediately steps in, grabs the moment, and fires back at Artemis, asking what she's really saying when she calls Vil the Empire's treasure. Vil declares loud and clear that he's a citizen of the Gai Tenerga kingdom, and the Empress can't just snatch him for her empire like he's property. Then he drops the truth. She can't claim him, but she did grant him a noble title. The moment Caroline hears that, her eyes flood with tears, and she can barely believe it as she asks, shaking, if he really became a noble of the Empire. As she admits she never thought things would spiral like this, Vil leans in and reassures her. It's okay, really. With a dazzling grin, he swears that no matter what storms hit, he'll always be there to protect her. The line is stunned by what he says, and when she takes it literally, steam bursts from her ears. Her face floods red with pure, instant embarrassment. She storms out of the room, insisting she needs to cool off outside, and Vil whips around to the others like, "So you're telling me she's not crazy happy that I promised to keep her sword safe?" No one answers. Everyone's left staring in disbelief at just how clueless he is. Artemis brushes it off and insists there's no way she can repay him after he saved her empire from an unprecedented disaster. Then she turns to him and declares him the Empire's most revered hero. Vil thinks calling him a hero is way too much, but Lakia won't hear it. She's sure even that title doesn't do him justice. Because if he hadn't shown up when he did, the Empire would have been finished, and that cursed Tsukimigami would have unleashed power beyond anything they've ever survived. To thank her, the Empress dips her head in a small bow, and Lakia drops into a perfect 90-degree bow. Moved by their sincerity, Vil accepts their gesture, but he shuts down the whole hero title, insisting what he did wasn't special at all. He admits he didn't beat those Tsukimigami through skill at all, just raw luck, because his powers happened to line up perfectly to shove the curse back. He's convinced it was his sacred relics power that tipped the fight, and that all he did was swing it through the chaos. The girls burst into giggles at how humble he is, and Porro blurts out that he's not just kind. He's downright unusual, and then. Meanwhile, in the kingdom of Getnerga, Sirikal gets shoved out of the Comet Emporium. But she refuses to go. She storms back to the door and hammers it, begging them to help her. Tears streaming down her face as she cries that they must come to her Hassan Trading Company because she has nobody else to turn to. Suddenly, the shop owner yanks open the door and shoves a newspaper straight into her face. A headline hits. The Hassan Trading Company is one step from bankruptcy, so the shopkeeper snaps that a business built on lies like hers deserves to rot, slams the door in her face, and orders her out right now. Sirikal was left shattered. This rejection killed the last smith she could hire, and it also wiped out the customers who'd buy from her company. Since there's nothing left she can do to save her company, tears burst out of her, and she decides to storm in and demand answers from Setchin. Meanwhile, in the capital town of Gatenerga, Setchin bursts in with a huge sack on his shoulder and the fake seal clenched in his hand. He shows up looking absolutely trashed, flies erupting around him, and people immediately shove out of the way, covering their noses like they can't breathe. More importantly, the fake seal in his hand keeps leaking a sinister dark aura. Then he bursts into mischievous giggles and grins that there are plenty of customers right here. He drops the sack to the ground and erupts in shouting, demanding everyone rush over and see for themselves, claiming the things he's crafted are so mind-blowing they're worth dying for. Hearing them say that, a few nearby adventurers start debating whether to check it out, and when Setchin catches the words, he jumps into action, unties the sack right then and grins, saying they're lucky today. He tore open the sack and laid out a jaw-dropping haul of top-tier weapons, then proudly demanded the adventurers stare at the masterpieces he'd forged, and their mouths dropped open in pure shock. And one of them even blurts out he recognizes the weapons: Excalibur, Aegis, Gaebulg, and even Levitine. Then Setchin grins and declares they're legendary treasures, selling each one for just a measly 1,000 gold. When one adventurer grabs what looks like Excalibur, he can't believe how cheap it feels. Turns out Setchin forged the whole lot out of that false seal, and it's all worthless junk. Setchin smirks at the fools under his breath, plotting to show Ceracle just how filthy rich he'll make them. And as his thoughts hit the false seal, it snarls back with an even darker aura. Right then, the mage gripped his magic and conjured an icicle to test that sword, cracking a joke that his spellwork is still rookie level and not all that flashy. But hey, it'll do the job. The adventurer hauled the blade up, seconds from swinging, and Setchin erupted into cheers like it was showtime. The blade cuts through the ice like it's nothing, and the adventurer freezes in shock, Setchin included, then blurts out an awkward laugh because he definitely didn't expect the weapon to be this good. With a loud declaration that this is the power of legendary weapons, Setchin draws a crowd of breathless adventurers who shove and sprint to get one. Then, things take a turn. However, the adventurer finishes his demo and suddenly shouts for everyone to hold up. Then Setchin cuts in, firing off the question. Does he want that Excalibur? He offers it for a measly 1,000 gold before anyone can even blink. Just as Setchin tries to get the words out, the adventurer shuts him down, saying he wants nothing to do with it, and he wouldn't hand over even one lousy gold coin for those fakes. The mage points out that the sword sliced through the icicle like it was nothing, but after a single swing, it's already chipped, and that hits the other adventurers hard, making them start to wonder if these weapons are real or just cheap fakes. Setchin swears it's normal for a sword to chip, but the adventurer snaps back. True legendary blades blaze with power the instant you grip them, and this one? It screams trash. To prove his point, he slams the sword into the ground and it explodes into glassy shards, laying Setchin scam bare. Yet Setchin snaps back that they can't blame him because they aren't real smiths, so they don't have the right to say the items are fake. He snaps into a full-on mental meltdown, clutching his head like it's exploding, swearing the weapons can't be fake because he's the head blacksmith of the Hassan Company. And the worst part, he's so deluded, he insists his skills are the kind even the gods would envy. The moment they hear he's from the Hassan Company, the same one they read about in the newspaper that went bankrupt, the adventurers go completely speechless, and after they clock its shady tricks firsthand, they vow to boycott Hassan trading on the spot. They start calling him a liar and a fraud, but Setchin won't take it. His hands shake with fury as he roars that none of it is true. With his feelings ripping out of control, the fake seal starts to glow, and unleashes an even darker aura, and he can't stand the humiliation a second longer. He screams that his talent can't be denied, then hoists the fake seal high. Wham! A blast of dust erupts like a shockwave. So Ceracle shows up, storms in and snaps at Setchin, demanding to know what he's doing, and labeling him a complete idiot. Ceracle fires back at him for wasting time, snapping that it's the only way to fix everything, so drop the excuses and do it now. As she speaks, she shoves a newspaper into his hands, the headline screaming that Vil saved the Empire and is now a celebrated hero. Then she urges them to rush out and find Vil together so they can apologize right away. Just as she's about to speak, Setchin launches a brutal kick straight into her stomach. As she slams onto her back and agony lights up her whole body, she gasps, "What are you doing? I'm carrying your child." But Setchin just ignores her, then starts shouting Vil's name again and again, barking, "Shut up." The second Vil's name hits his ears, he snaps, and he's praying she'd just go to hell. Ceracle clutches her aching belly and demands Setchin explain what's wrong with him, and how he can even talk like that. Setchin snaps back that he'd rather die than apologize to Vil, then shoots down the newspaper hype about Vil being a hero as pure, laughable nonsense. Then he yanks Ceracle by the shoulders, shoots her a disgusted look, and demands why she's whining when she's got him right there. Ceracle whips him across the face. Then as she rises, she spits that he's nothing but a disappointment. Then he shoots back and tells her she's just whining because he's totally talentless. Right as she says it, Setchin looks up and sees his father and grandfather staring down at him with crushing, deep disappointment. This hits him so hard he locks up like a statue, mouth stuck shut, saying nothing, just staring. Seeing that, Ceracle lets out a sharp, bitter sigh, totally let down. With nothing else to do, she turns to go, and right then Setchin bursts out, yelling for her to stop and demanding if she's really walking away from him. Cyril slams on the brakes and tells him he can stay right there if he wants. She'll go apologize to Vil by herself. After that, she turns and walks off, and all they can do is lose it and scream her name. While he seethes even harder, pounds the ground, and yells that they only care about skill and ability. Each time he slams the ground with that fake seal, it locks onto his hand and starts fusing in, spilling out a darker and darker aura with every hit. Seeing it happen, a nearby adventurer snaps into action and decides to call the guards, right as Setchin's hand fully fuses into the false seal. And now he's demanding that Will come to him, because once Will's there, he's ready to steal Will's skill and talents for himself. Moments later, Cyril bursts onto a train headed for the Empire to confront Vil and beg for forgiveness. And in her little compartment, a hooded man looms beside her while a mother sits across with her child. While Cyril tries to figure out how to apologize to Will, the kid in front of her starts bawling, saying her doll is broken. Then the mom freezes because she has no sewing tools on her and the doll's head is totally severed. Just so the hooded man thrusts out his hand and declares that planting tools aren't needed. After he finished speaking, he slammed his hand onto the doll, and a glowing circle mark lit up, eerily just like Vil's. As Cyril spots the mark and instantly clocks what it means, the man snaps his hand up, and there it is, the doll restored, looking brand new like it never broke. The little girl tilts her head up at the hooded man and asks if he's some kind of magician. He says no, so she fires back, "Then are you a toy maker?" He answers, "Kind of." The mother thanks him and he waves it off with a humble, "It was nothing." He shifted a little towards Cyril and said, straight up, he's the kind of person who can't walk past someone in need. Cyril leans in and fires off the question, "Are you really a well-known blacksmith?" She just spotted the marking on his hand and it screams the golden hand. Hearing that, the man whips out the marking and asks if she means this. Then Cyril freezes because it looks just like Vil's. She remembers how Vil's right hand, with that exact mark, held a power no one should have. And she immediately wonders if this stranger's the same. So she blurts out a quick apology for the abrupt question. Bowing slightly, she asks him if he'd work for her trading company. And the moment he hears it, he says he's heard the Hassan Trading Company is getting slammed with non-stop misfortune. Cyril freezes in shock, staring at the man like, "How does he know my name?" While she's still trying to make sense of it, he cuts in and says he has zero plans to join any organization. He's on a mission to build something right now. That hits her hard because Cyril realizes he feels just like Vil. She blurts out another apology, admitting she couldn't stop herself from asking. Maybe it's her pregnancy messing with her head. The moment he hears that, he laughs and calls it a good thing, because to him, out of everything humans bring into the world, kids are the most fascinating of all. Cyril hears it and thinks, "That's weird," then repeats the word creation like it's stuck in his head. The man digs something out and shoves it into her hands. Turns out it's just candy, but he's dead sure it'll cheer her up. Even though candy is exactly what she had in mind, she can't bring herself to refuse it, so she blurts out an awkward thanks. When he grins, one of those smiles that only shows up in the wrinkles around his eyes, Cyril feels the pressure building and gives in. He looks like he expects her to pop it in right away, so she does. The second it hits her tongue, pure deliciousness explodes, and she's suddenly standing in a blooming field of flowers. Stunned, she can't help but think, "What is this?" While a wave of happiness crashes over her all at once. Still dazed from the candy, Cyril watches the man shoot to his feet and declare he's getting off right here. Then the woman snaps that the train won't stop until it reaches the imperial capital, the final destination. He just shrugs, says it's fine, and tells her thanks for worrying about him. Right before he leaves, he whips around and tells the young girl, "Take care of the doll." After saying that, he storms out as the woman and her kid wave goodbye, but Cyril just stands there, frozen in a deep trance. Right as the woman praised him for being so kind, a violent jolt ripped through the train, and their bodies lurched before they could even react. Turns out the train's steam boiler blew sky-high, and the front of the whole train slammed into a brutal, sudden stop. Then the trailing cars get slammed by their own momentum, stacking up in a brutal chain reaction that turns into pure disaster. Pure chaos erupts, passengers scramble to escape, but nothing works as the train cars slam down around them before they can even react. Meanwhile, that hooded man hovers above it all, grinning as the chaos rips through the world. Then, with a wicked smirk curling his lips, he claims this is one of the tragedies the seven powers unleash. Moments after the hooded man vanishes, Crowley rockets into the crash site with Will and Porro riding on her back. And when he lays eyes on the wreck, horror claws at his chest as countless bodies lie scattered. the devastation crushing him. Porro spots that a few passengers are still alive and blurts out if they're waiting on the Empire's rescue crew. Then Crowley snaps back that they should drag the injured straight to the Empire themselves. Vill's got another plan brewing, but Crowley cuts in fast. If they don't move right now, the body count keeps climbing. With everything on the line, Vill clenches his teeth, shuts the distance fast, and slams his golden hand power into action. As he kneels to rip apart the wreckage, he spots a swarm of magical circles scattered everywhere, dead ringers for the exact ones he's been wrestling with for the past few days. All right, he finally starts reading the damage those magical circles left behind. An injured pregnant woman, a victim with a ruptured internal organ, someone flatlining in cardiac arrest, and another drenched in cerebral hemorrhage. After checking every passenger one by one, he finally gets the full picture of their conditions. Then it hits the final step. Boom, full restoration bursts out, and as it kicks in, everything starts floating. The train rattles on, and right alongside it, the people start mending too. Wounds slam shut, and in the blink of an eye. Everything snaps back to normal, railway, tracks, and all, as if the disaster never even happened, and it leaves Porro staring in pure disbelief, who pulls Will in for a hug and loudly praises him for fixing everything in one shot. Will can barely believe what he just did, wondering if he's truly leveled up, but he brushes it off fast, because keeping everyone safe matters way more than any number rising. Suddenly a voice slices through the air, calling his name, so he looks down. Then he spots a face he knows all too well, Sirikal, his ex-fiancée, who betrayed him and teamed up with his own brother. She drops to the ground in seconds, sinks to her knees, and keeps apologizing over and over to him. As the dragon dives into land, she breaks down in tears. Then Vill suddenly throws himself off, rushes towards Sirikal, and orders her to get back on her feet. When she snaps her gaze up at his voice, Vill tells her straight. Every passenger is about to get a full, no-holds-barred checkup at the Imperial Capital Hospital. Since she's pregnant, he steps up and carries her first. And when Sirikal sees how gentle he is, unlike his brother who kicked her in the stomach, she finally realizes she was dead wrong. As she marches toward Vill with tears streaming down her face, she admits her mistake. She crumples to the ground, keeps apologizing through shaking breaths, and Will's face tightens with worry. Moments later, he shoves as many kids and women as he can onto Crowley, orders her to race to the capital, and tells the rest of the passengers to hold tight while they wait for the rescue team to show up. With everything finally settled, Crowley rockets off, and Vill can't stop worrying as she clutches the injured and stares after her, breath held. He snaps his focus to the train, and something feels wildly off. He already used his restoration skill to put everything back to normal, so why does the weirdness still linger? The tracks and the whole area look totally unbroken, so there's no way an accident happened on its own. Porro suddenly suspects someone set it up, and Will nods like, "Yeah, you can absolutely do that with magic." Right then, he spots a dark aura seeping out of one of the compartments, but he doesn't answer Porro's question about what's wrong. He slips into the compartment where that strange aura should be, and the place is swallowed in darkness. Porro doesn't flinch at all, so he blurts out, "Can't you see it?" Porro shakes her head. She can't see a single trace of any dark aura. This hits Will like a punch. He's left staring, wondering if he's the only one who can see that aura lashing outward, tracking its trail the second he steps off the train. He spots it lagging behind something perched on Crowley, then cranks his analyzing eye and zooms in to confirm it. He realizes the dark aura isn't coming from nowhere. It's pouring out of a creepy doll a kid is clutching, and a sick, terrible dread crashes over him. After putting miles behind him, Crowley snaps to action. He bolts after her and tells Porro they're heading back to the Imperial capital right now. On his way to the capital, Vill suddenly realizes he'll be too late the moment he finally gets there. So he grabs a teleportation crystal and flashes right in front of the Imperial hospital, still holding Porro tight in his arms. He immediately spots a dark aura spilling out of the hospital, and it hits him hard. They got here before he did. As he drops that thought, he notices Porro still hasn't climbed off him. She's basically wrapped around him like it's her favorite hobby. He murmurs her name, soft and careful. Finally, she slips free and claims the teleportation crystal hit so fast she didn't even realize they'd landed. He doesn't buy it. He barrels straight into the hospital, yelling at Porro to stick with him right now. As soon as he steps into the hospital, pitch-black silence swallows the halls, and the people inside don't flinch at all. Then it hits him. It's not just Porro. The whole hospital crowd can't see the dark aura creeping around them. Chasing that growing darkness up the stairs with Porro at his heels, Sirikal finally clocks them, and the aura points straight to a room, where Vil swears the source has to be waiting. He swings the door open, and the darkness inside is so thick he can barely make out a thing. As they step inside, they spot a woman and her kid wrapped in a choking dark aura, turning out to be the very same mother and child Vil saved back at the accident site. But for some reason, the mom won't respond at all, and the child feels off too because they're staring and asking, "Why won't you move?" Porro sprints toward the child to see if she's okay, but Vil snaps, "Stop." And when she halts, he demands, "Can't you see what she's holding?" The moment Porro hears him, she spots It's no ordinary doll. Right then it whips its head toward them, flashes that creepy grin, and blasts the same dark aura at them, and the shock hits like a punch. Porro blurts, "Is it really just a doll?" And Will snaps back, "No, this is cursed," saying it's the same kind of evil as the one tied to the lion god. Then he steps up to the girl and asks, in a soft voice, if she'll lend him the doll just for a moment. She shuts him down instantly, no hesitation. Vil smiles and tells her it's fine because he's a doll doctor. The second she hears that, she fires back, asking if he's anything like the person from earlier, and that leaves Vil totally confused as he scrambles to figure out who she means. He tosses that question aside and turns to the doll, declaring that if it's hurting, he'll make sure it stops. Hearing that, the girl lunges forward and thrusts the doll into his hands. As he tries to repair it, fury flares because someone turned a child's precious doll into something cursed. And right then, the doll jolts to life, snapping open a cursed magic circle. Before it can do a single thing, Vil crashes down on it with unstoppable destruction, then seals it with full restoration and almighty refinement. This blasts the magic circle wide open, ripping the curse right out of the doll. Then reconstruction refinement kicks in and turns it even more gorgeous than before. With the curse finally gone, the child's mother, who'd been lying in a coma-like daze, suddenly jerks awake, gasps, and sits up, and the moment the child sees her, they rush in for a tight hug while the mother blurts out, trembling, "What's happening?" Vil steps in and unveils the doll like it's a super doll, one that brings blessings to everyone nearby. Porro's jaw drops too, because the thing's hair is literally glowing, and it's gorgeous to the point of disbelief. The girl blurts to her mother that this big brother repaired her doll, and Phil turns to the woman, demanding to know if anyone had messed with it. She says that on the train, when the doll's head popped off, a man appeared and fixed it. Then the little girl explains he was like a kind big brother with his face wrapped up in cloth. Hearing that, Vil's eyes narrow. This sounds like someone tied to the 7 powers, and he immediately thanks the girl for the description. The woman bows and tells him they should be the ones thanking him, but Vil shuts that down fast. This was all the doll's doing, the same thing that healed her, until the doll suddenly answers back. So she swears it isn't her fault at all. Every bit of the credit goes to him, the doll doctor. This jolts the mother, but the child beams even harder now that the doll has finally spoken, Porro and Vil included, both stunned. So the doll pushes forward and demands, "Vil, why are you acting so weird? You're the one who made me." The doll sweeps into a graceful curtsy, and Porro is left stunned. Then she turns to Vil and gushes that he's basically brought the doll to life. Vil can barely believe he pulled it off, and he swears it wasn't magic or luck. He just flipped a curse into a blessing, and right then, someone peeks in through the entrance. The observer is Cyril all along. He's been secretly watching every moment unfold. And once he sees this, plus Vil's earlier miracle of bringing the dead back at the train crash, Cyril's convinced his powers are basically godlike. Right then, a boy yells for his mother, because somehow his injured legs are healed and he can finally walk again. Then someone yells that their chest pain is gone, another person screams that their vision is back, and the wildest part is this. A man doctors once told he had just 3 months to live is now well enough to be discharged. Staring at all of it, the hospital doctor freezes in shock and blurts out whether a god just descended on the place, because only Cyril knows the truth. This is exactly what Vil's doll can do, and the moment she sees it, she realizes he's truly something special. Then it hits her, she knows exactly what she wants. Vil. And with that, determination sparks in her eyes as she decides to move right now to get him back. As Vil and Porro gush over how adorable the doll is, Cyril bursts into the room and calls out to him, tears blazing in her eyes, saying she's searched everywhere because she has something urgent to tell him, while Porro glares at her like a warning sign. As Vil rushes in and blurts out apologies, claiming he's swamped right now, Cyril finally speaks up too, sorry for dragging him out. She reveals the ugly truth. Ever since he left, the Hassan Trading Company's sales have cratered, all because Setchin's skills turned out to be totally useless. She can't stand seeing the very company they once built sink into collapse, and then it hits her. This is only the beginning. She's convinced the customers will flock back the moment Vil returns, so she turns to him with tears in her eyes and begs him to come back to her. Without missing a beat, Vil shuts her down on the spot, still not even turning around. And that cold, blunt refusal throws her off so hard she blurts, asking if he's really mad at her. With a troubled look, she insists he's furious because the people he once loved just betrayed him, yet somehow. Right as she's about to finish, Porro lunges in front of her and shoves her back hard enough to make her stumble. Then he snarls at her, calling her too persistent, demanding she shut it and stop causing a scene. She snaps back, wondering how Sirekle can ask Vil to come back after the betrayal. Sirekle gets up and fires back that it has nothing to do with her. She assumes Porro's from some rival company sent to recruit Vil, and Porro shoots that down fast, saying she won't let it happen, because she's the one Vil saved. Then there's the one who swears she gets him more than anyone else. Right as she finishes, Sirekle snaps her voice up and blasts Vil, accusing him of an affair with Porro and calling it a straight-up betrayal. Porro fires back that Sirekle was the one who betrayed him, not the other way around, and it leaves Sirekle completely speechless. Porro snaps at her to get out, saying Vil's got a noble mission waiting and there's zero time for her, while Vil keeps refusing to even glance her way. Sirekle drops to her knees, then slams her head into the ground as she sobs apologies, begging Vil to come back, swearing she can't do anything else, while pleading, "Are you really ready to let the Hassan Company get wiped out?" Will coldly snaps back that it's already far too late. Then he hears the syringe freeze. Then he points out the harsh truth. She's the one who swore the company was hers alone, bragged that its success was her doing and not his, so now it's her job to clean up every mess the company is facing. Right on the day he walked out, he said it. Everything after this has nothing to do with him anymore. Totally overwhelmed, she starts spiraling. Why did I do something this stupid? And as her body shakes, she blurts out apologies to Will, Setchin, and her baby, knowing there's no saving this now. Then bam, her belly swells like a balloon, ballooning to double its normal size. She left the whole room stunned as she kept blurting out, "It hurts," and right then, Bill spots it instantly. The black aura is back, surging out of Sirekle's body like something breaking free. Panicking, he blurts out whether she came across that hooded man too. Then Sirekle, barely even awake, manages to say he slipped her a tasty candy, and that's when Will goes full certain. It's definitely his doing. Ever since then, a cursed magic circle blooms across her belly and starts carving out a portal. And the moment it snaps fully into place, something begins to crawl out. As its head finally comes into view, you realize it's a giant, frog-like monster baby, almost certainly Sirekle's child, twisted into this horrifying form by that cursed candy. Once it's finally clear, the creature crawls toward Vil and then, right on the spot, it suddenly leaps at them, but Vil and Porro yank their focus just in time, dodging while holding the mother and daughter, so the monster baby tumbles right down. After they land safely, Vil whips into action and orders the mother to grab her daughter and run to the nearest safe spot. Then she rushes through the hospital shouting warnings about the monster, begging everyone to call the adventurers right now. That leaves just 3 people crammed in the room with the monster baby. Sirekle snaps back into consciousness and realizes she somehow gave birth, even though it isn't time yet. Then she looks at the baby. It spots her, crawls right up to her, and blurts "Mama" like it knows her. Then the second that frog-like hand reaches out, she snaps and slaps it away, shrieking, "Monster." The monster baby freezes in shock. Then its world collapses as its own mother rejects it, and out bursts its painful cries. It screams so hard it throws out airwave shockwaves, and all 3 of them immediately clamp their hands over their ears, because the blast smashes half the room to pieces, making Vil wonder if that kid's throwing wind magic. Since there's no spell or magic circle in sight, Vil snaps to the conclusion that the kid is sitting on extraordinary magical power. Then Porro blurts, "What do you mean?" Will tells them the hooded man's curse could be driving the kid's magic off the rails. Then Sirekle snaps to the truth. It was the candy she ate. The monster baby keeps crying, and Bill calls out to her, telling her this. Even if those parents are awful, the child should never take the blame, and reminds her she's the only mother this child has. So when those words hit, she finally turns back to the baby, and seeing it cry, she realizes with a rush of heartbreak that none of this is the baby's fault. She crawls toward the creature, whispers for it, and grabs its hand. Then she presses her forehead to the baby's and sobs an apology, saying she brought it into this world but still pushed it away. The monster baby stops crying, clings to her tight, and calls out, "Mama." Vil and Porro yank their ears back out of pure relief. Just then, a pack of adventurers crashes into the room, spots the child, and screams "monster" at the top of their lungs. before Vil can even stop them. The adventurers brace for the strike and blast the baby with a ferocious combo of fire, wind, and lightning. Just as the attack is about to hit, Sirekle snaps into action and shields the child with her own body, taking the entire blow herself. She's left with brutal burns and drops like a lifeless doll, shaking the monster baby to its core. Then the kid starts trembling, rage surging in its chest. And the adventurers finally understood this was a mistake they couldn't take back. Then the monster baby blasts a sonic scream that hits way harder than before, at least 100 times more powerful. That blast hits with crushing force. Villain Porro can barely stay on his feet, while the adventurers right in its sights get shredded into smithereens. But it doesn't end there. His sonic blast shatters the whole hospital, cracking it wide open until the entire building finally caves in. Right then, he slams his golden hand to life, raises the divine hammer, and unleashes a masterfully crafted restoration skill. In the blink of an eye, it all snaps back to normal, and the adventurers get dragged right back too. While they spin around demanding answers to what just happened, Vil snaps at them, fury spilling out of every word. Rage blazing in his chest, he demands to know how they could pull something like that on a child. Shocked by how furious he got, the adventurers bolt out fast, apologizing non-stop, while Porro calls them out for being rude. Then Sirekle is revealed to be totally fine. As she snaps back to consciousness, the agony vanishes and she knows Vil is back. Then out of nowhere, she hears a baby's cry. And when she looks down, her world flips as the baby suddenly turns into a human. Pure joy hits her like a wave. Tears flood her eyes while she cradles her child in her arms, stunned, happy beyond words, knowing her little one really did become human. The curse still clings to the kid, but it's brimming with wild magic. Vil is sure he'll master it one day. Then Sirekle spots Porro and Vil slipping away, so she bolts after them and shouts, "Vil!" When he finally halts, Sirekle looks him in the eye and thanks him for shielding her child. Vil snaps back without even looking at her, saying he didn't do it for her, then storms off as Sirekle just stares, tears pouring down her face while she keeps apologizing for being such a fool. As her kid shouts her name, Sirekle turns and tells them, "We're heading home, Papa Setchin might be waiting." Meanwhile, in the Gatenerga Kingdom's capital prison, Setchin gets shoved into a cell and the guard snaps, "Don't move, sit tight until bail is paid." He still won't accept that he's a fake craftsman, mumbling over and over that he's got talent, until the prisoner in the next cell finally snaps and orders Setchin to shut up. Then boom, this hooded man slips into the cells out of nowhere, and he spits out how pathetic it is that after busting his back, nobody even bothers to notice him. Setchin spots him as the one who handed over that fake seal, then explodes in anger, demanding he craft stronger items and shouting that he doesn't want excuses, he wants talent. In the blink of an eye, the hooded man slips behind him and claims he already handed him the strongest item, only for Setchin to snap back that it's still not strong enough. While everyone keeps staring down at him and laughing in his face, the hooded man slides up to Setchin with a sinister grin and taunts, "Why not just take everyone's arms?" Right after he says it, he slaps Setchin's warped arm with a hand marked like the golden hand, and Setchin's arm twists and contorts in the worst way as he erupts into hysterical laughter. The prisoner in the next cell panics and screams for the guards, and that's. Right then, the capital prison wall buckles, cracks spidering across it, before it shatters outward like a colossal blow ripped it apart. From the rubble, Setchin explodes into view, his hand fully transformed, now carrying the fused arms of prisoners and guards. Then he rips the silence apart. He's taking everyone's arms, no exceptions. Meanwhile, the hooded man drifts high in the sky, eyes blazing with an exalted stare, waiting on pins and needles to see what Setchin is about to pull off. Right after busting out of prison, Setchin storms into the town he grew up in, and the moment he hits, everyone scrambles. Panic explodes as people flee for their lives. Setchin erupts into hysterical laughter, over the moon that he can smash buildings like they're soaked paper. Ever since then, adventurers roll up to the scene, and the moment they spot Setchin, they instantly clock him as the fake craftsman. They charge in without a second thought, but Setchin snarls and shuts every strike down with his cursed arm. Then he whips it around and blasts them to the ground. Suddenly, their arms are gone with no explanation, and their skills refuse to activate. Then bam, it's revealed those severed arms are all stitched back on, and they're latched to Setchin's cursed hand. Right then, the adventurer's guildmaster storms into the scene, barks for everyone to back up, and charges straight at him to strike. She snaps forward and swats the arms Setchin has gathered right off his cursed limb, watching them drop as Setchin freezes in stunned silence. Swearing she'll defend the town no matter what, she vows to take him out. and the adventurers practically breathe again when she finally shows up, but Setchin doesn't look even a little worried. Then the guildmaster's eyes snap wide, because she just realized her arm is gone and right away said. He drives his cursed arm into her whole body, starts yanking her inside it, and vows he'll steal her powers too. Now that the S-rank guildmaster is fused into his arm, he feels like he's untouchable, like nothing can beat him.